PUBG Mobile for free.
Hello everyone and welcome back to day number 5 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. My name's Esquire, joined here by Trid, and we have had an exciting few sets of days of PUBG Mobile action, but we are almost done with the group stages. You don't want to find yourselves in those bottom 8, and Trid, it's going to be a fight for points here today.
Yeah, and we're going to kick things off with obviously today's action, which is focusing around groups A and D, but it is their final game days in this group, and as the Squire's already mentioned, if you're in that bottom 8 by the end of today, and you're in groups A and D, you relinquish all control of your fate, and it's thrown into the hands of the performing groups tomorrow in groups B and C. Having a look at the standings as they stand, I'm going to point out a couple of groups in that bottom area. In fact, all the teams in this page right now, they're going to be the ones eliminated if we were to end play today.
You don't want to be on this slide.
No.
You don't want to be on the slide whatsoever, but there are 3 other slides to look at, Trid. And this next one, well, some of these teams are going to be in the danger zone. They're going to want to try to rack up as many points as possible today because, like you said, tomorrow they're just going to be able to sit back and they're not going to be able to do anything else while other teams rack up those points.
NVUS aren't playing today, but they hold the current benchmark position of that 24th place with 82 points. So we can put that as a approximate benchmark for today. If you're underneath that line tomorrow, you're going to be in some difficulty if you're not going to be playing. But as we move up, a couple of good performing teams here. Method had a pretty good showing yesterday, getting up there quite high. Same thing you said about Lights Out. They switched it on. They switched on the lights, ironically enough, based off their performances in the previous weeks. But as we head to that final card, this is the top dogs. Remember Esports? They were able to dethrone Misfits Gaming yesterday, take that top spot with equal matches played.
And now Misfits have the opportunity here today to try to take back that #1 spot, but it is certainly at least safe here as you look in these top 8 positions. Let's take a look though at the schedule for this weekend. Again, 3 days to be played out. We already played out yesterday. We're here today on day 2 of week number 2. So make sure to check that out. The schedule though should be pretty similar to what we've seen over the last few days.
And a pleasant surprise yesterday when it comes to the look at map wins. VN1 picking up back-to-back map wins on Vikendi and Erangel. Not a team we put up there as one of the high flyers, but were able to pull out a consistently good performance yesterday, get themselves into that top 8 position.
And that's kind of what you like to see. Some of these teams had kind of rough performances in week number 1. Well, they took that week off, and it's telling which teams really put in the work, that VOD review, that research into their opponents here in these lobbies.
And today's schedule for you, we're going to kick things off on Sanhok as we have done in the previous 2 days. Vikendi and then a double helping of Erangel. It's the exact same thing tomorrow as well, so get used to this format. This is what the teams are going to be duking it out on.
Okay, well, speaking of duking it out, let's take a look at 2 teams that are in that danger zone. Like we said, Latinos Undios as well as Version 2 Black, these 2 teams have to chase down whatever points they can get here today, whether they be placement, whether they be kills, or a combination of the 2.
Yeah, Latinos Undios obviously looking to get into a better position. They are a middle of the pack team. They are very close to that danger zone. They are still above the 24th place, so they're safe for now. That could all change over the next 2 days because of their proximity to that aforementioned danger zone.
Yeah, Latinos Undios is a squad that we see a lot. I feel like we see them a lot on screen, except they're always on the receiving end of the damage of the pressure being applied. So yes, hopefully they can do something to turn those tables, be on the aggression side of those pushes, and see if they can't rack up some kills and some nice placements along the way.
And the expectation we have so far of Sanhok, the first map we're going to be going into, is that the 4x4 map obviously creates more aggressive plays, more aggressive attitudes towards how you're playing it, so we expect more of the same. I remember yesterday's game, we had teams falling into a very central circle that covered all 3 islands, and it kept the play open for so long, but then it started creating these congested areas where the land started to become a little bit more minuscule, and that's when things really started to accelerate into the late game.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy late game. Certainly, if you didn't see it yesterday, make sure to head on over to clubopen.pubgmobile.com. You can find information about the tournament as well as some VODs of previous days of gameplay, which have certainly been exciting. It's always cool to see the storylines, how these teams have competed against one another to make it here, because certainly a lot is on the line, even more so this weekend.
Yeah, and if you don't have the time, because it's a big commitment to watch all of these games of PUBG as well, if you want to keep up with other regions, highlight videos are available as well, which will give you a brief flavor or a summary of what
Exactly right. So, Trid, where players are getting loaded into the first map of the night, Sanhok, we already talked about it. It is likely going to be a little bit action-packed, but I'm also going to be looking for what teams are playing it a little bit more passively. Again, a lot is on the line, and if you're going out in 15th and 16th position, well, you're not getting really much, any points in that regard.
Well, yeah, if you're going out in 16th place, you're getting 0 of the potential 30 points for a first place finish, and the kills are only going to net you 1 apiece. But we're on to our first map. We're soaring across 7. We're going to get ready into game number 1 of today's action.
And from the southeastern corner of the jungle map, we head on over to the north. A centralized ending for this plane, so for the most part, these teams will be likely, at least, if not happy, okay with what they are seeing here. Most areas of Sanhok will be accessible just from the drop plane itself. All players, though, have departed the cargo hold and will be spreading out amongst the jungle, trying to find a location that is, again, ideal in terms of its practicality, where the first phase is going to pop, but also not going to be landing in those hot contested areas.
I'm looking at a hot contested area right in the south there. You still got that cluster of Wildcard, G6, and VN1 still keeping awfully close to each other. They're going to have to make and start holding themselves up into that northeast area because the circle's just centralized over to that eastern island, cutting off about a third of the map so far.
See another one of our teams that we were highlighting, Latinos Undios, all the way up there in Hot 10 to the northwest. Certainly have to keep our eyes on them because phase number 1 is popped, and it's not going to be friendly to that western side of the jungle as we pop over to Misfits here in the Paradise Resort area. Already at least in a bit of an engagement with another squad here. They need to be careful. They've already taken damage. Hot Juke's coming in. He's IGLing for his team here. This is team number 9. I believe it's
Error.
Team Error.
It's
right?
Error, and one thing to note is this is one of the highest fragging teams in the form of Misfits going up against one of the lowest fragging teams. So
Yes.
if you have to put it into mechanical ability, you'd think that Misfits would walk away with this one, but the amount of damage that's just being taken by Misfits already. Hot Jukes outputting the DPS with the UMP. Going to cause a lot of problems for them already. They're trading 1 down for 1 down, but now Hot Jukes has gone down himself. Ace are being traded, so that's 2 members down on each side. It's a 2v2 engagement to be won here, but Perksas still very low, needs to heal up.
2v2 engagement. How are they going to play this out, though? Will Team Air play this aggressively, or will both teams
It's not a 2v2,
back
actually.
off?
There's only Perksas is the only one remaining.
Exactly, and now he's got to get him up. He's got to do something here because it's extremely dire for both of these teams. As Pyra from Misfits going to be finding another connection on to Swift. It looks like Hot Jukes was able to get res, so he's going to be trying to get those meds up as fast as possible as Swift continues to bleed on out. But now Pyra coming in on the flank. He's trying to catch the members of Air off guard, and grenades will be flying.
Cheeky little grenade, throws it through the window. Hot Jukes may fall victim to that if he's not too careful, but it's going to be a rush coming in from Team Error. They've run straight into Ace. There's the knock from Uneven to take down Hot Jukes. Spray coming in from Uneven again, trying to hit Reptile, who's getting his first game day for Error, but there's a spray from the side. Never saw that one coming through the window, and that's a squad wipe coming in from Misfits. Rocky start, but they come through the other side of it.
Teams are surprisingly dropping like flies here very early on in the stages of game number 1 here of day number 5 of the group stages here for the PUBG Mobile Club Open. Misfits, though, starting out with a very commanding, at least, ball rolling here for them. They're going to be able rather to take this momentum on through the early to mid game and hopefully ride on that confidence. I mean, this is the Misfits trade that we're used to seeing in those dominant positions.
Nice retake there coming in from Pyro, obviously providing support. He was out of the way of the fight, so it took a little bit of a while for him to get back into it, but he found a good angle, took a body down as he entered into the fight, which always starts to tip the scales in Misfits' favor. And then he just had Uneven, just going aggressive, finding the angles, and just using the avenues of sight into that building to just catch Error off guard. And they're going out incredibly early, and this is one of the teams who are currently sat in 21st place. And any team that's playing today, if they keep this up, they're just going to be overtaking them and forcing them into those lower positions and closer to missing out on our semifinals next week.
Yeah, pretty much no one is safe unless you are on that first page. Those top 8 positions on the global leaderboards of the 32 teams, they can sit pretty comfortable, at least where they are. They can't give up. Obviously, a lot of teams will be watching to track their performance here in these group stages. But Latinos Undios, again, what are the teams we're looking at, trying to see if they can pull out some big stops here to rack up those points, and they're already going to be disengaging off of this Hot 10 area. A far northwestern position when you have an eastern circle, and they we certainly need to be careful as well. Can't take out your teammates with a vehicle.
They can't take them out as well because they're playing with 3 members. There must have been a disconnection or a technical issue for one of their players, which means they're already playing in a handicapped position in game number 1. And considering we keep stressing the importance of how many points they're going to need to get to climb, because they're sat in 23rd at the beginning of the game day, and if they're not racking up the points, they're going to fall into the same trap that Team Error is going to. And starting with 3 men, not the best of starts, but we've seen teams with less members get those higher placements by just playing a little bit more stealthily, which runs counterintuitive to what Sanhok is all about.
one of the members of North American F6, F2, has actually been spotted out by Polar Ace Esports Prod DJ on the north side of this warehouse. Will be just holding on. Both of these players trying to utilize that third-person perspective peek to catch the other out guard, but it's going to be Polar Ace Esports that's really pushing up as a four-man squad, while the other three members of NAF6 hang back in those Overwatch positions a little bit south off of where F2's position currently is. But Prod DJ knows exactly where the enemy threat lies. He's going to be trying to throw some grenades out. Again, these aren't going to be getting the knocks. These aren't going to be putting out damage, but he's trying to flush out where the rat may lie.
He's very ahead. He's got two teammates at his back, obviously keeping an eye on his JPP is going to come in and join the fight as well, but F2 just holding the angle. May get a sight of him as he's hiding around by those blocks. F2 is going to take a lot of fire now from Shakes on the long side, but he has to take cover, get that healing in. He can't pop out again, which cuts down this sight line. He can use the third-person perspective to get eyes on again. He's going to get that healing up as Pro DJ holds a closer angle to this next engagement.
Shots continue to pop off. F2 going to be sending some pressure back on Polar Ace Esports, trying to keep them on their heels, trying to stop them from advancing on top of his position. Baba trying to do exactly the same thing. And I'm kind of fascinated right now by the 3-1 split that is being displayed by the members of NAF6. They essentially are trying to catch Polar Ace Esports out in a bait if they over-aggress, over-push onto that solo player from NAF6. Good play. Both teams going to disengage off of this. It's almost what you want to see at this stage in the game.
Yeah, it's just not worth it to go in here and just lose resources and time as well. You are playing border. You're not really central right now based on you are on the map. Quarry is kind of on that southwest edge of the current circle. It's going to change very quickly, so you might want to get more central as a Lushy. Gonna find 2 knocks there onto Dex and Yoda getting knocked down. They're gonna push up on the Shoguns. Fearless getting knocked as well. There's only Rice left, and they're gonna spray him down as well. There's not much you can do about that one, and Alushi and the rest of G6 gonna take a squad wipe for themselves.
Solid 4 kills, nothing better than that, at least when you come out of engagement with that, as well as the loot infusion to boot. But G6 now, they need to quickly recover off of that, get the meds rolling, as we just saw Yayo do, and get ready for any other teams that might be pushing off of that western edge. We saw a lot of teams drop in the far northwest, and phase number 2 pops, sends us continuing on that eastward trek.
Yeah, no teams up into that northeast. They're going to have to rotate back down, but Home Alone are going to have to find their way into that circle. Same with Unnamed and Latinos Unidos, as well as G6. The rest of the teams are in a good position right now to, unfortunately, either play edge, and you've got Method sat bang in the middle of it all, so they're going to have to be pivoting around, keeping an eyes on everyone's 6, and make sure they don't get caught off guard by the 360 degrees of attack.
And that's a good point that we could kind of play off of, Trid. A lot of people that watch PUBG Mobile Esports say centralized position, man, they got gifted. That's exactly where you want to be, but you have to think about the counter side of that. A lot of eyes are going to be on that centralized position, and well, if you don't have the numbers, if you don't have the synergy with your teammates to make the perfect call-outs and watch those flanks, you could find these centralized spots being the detrimental aspect to your team's performance.
G6 and Alushi, they're going to go mobile as they get onto the buggies and try to get themselves into that circle. Not far to travel because they're just crossing over by boot camp, and now they're in the circle successfully, but it's where they're going to situate themselves afterwards, because if they keep going on this current path, they're going to bash into potentially North America F6, Pro Ace Esports, as well as Method, but Misfits have made that rotation in, and they're starting to get as much to the center as they can as Method had. It's the same case with Team Totality as well. They're the ones that are converging at the center spot of this circle.
Well, Totality is also a team that has to do something big here in their final day of gameplay for the group stages. They've got to rack up the points. They've consistently been on the bottom side of the leaderboards and, well, certainly are not feeling safe. But speaking about maybe not being safe, as VN1 rolls up onto the hill, we'll be overlooking another squad just down to their southwest in the name of Polar Ace Esports, who is now rotated off of that warehouse position that we previously saw them holding. But VN1 continues to loot up. They're not necessarily concerned with any enemy presence as of yet. I don't think they've even spotted out Polar Ace Esports down there.
If VN1 can keep the momentum they had from yesterday, yes, they didn't finish the final map of Erangel or win that one out. They had great play yesterday. If they can keep that up today, maybe they would be able to get themselves in a solid position. They'll take it down, but look at the sightlines given by Key. They're going to take a few shots onto Polar Ace Esports. Not got a knock just yet. They're going to get Dilly down as the first member. Pro DJ separated from the rest of the team as he's in the corner behind that rock, and JBP hiding behind the tree. They're going to throw out the smoke to create some cover to relieve that pressure and get everyone back into the game.
You hate to see this. Ace Esports ran out into the wide open with no care in the world for what was lying in wait on that hillside. I think they saw the crate trip. That's what I think they were going for as a 4-man unit. Unfortunately, got caught off guard, and well, they are certainly going to be taking casualties here as the shots continue to ring out and connect. PrawDJ going to be entirely separated from his squad. A wide open area is what he's going to have to cross to get back to the safety of his teammates, and it's going to be a hard task to do so as Bucky continues to rain down the 5.56 shots with the M16.
Just trying to get into the smoke, potentially knock someone as PrawDJ actually returns it back onto Ran, so now they have to close ranks, come back to their fallen comrade and get him back in the game. But Lushy taking a fight with F6, and that's going to be a little bit more accelerated off to the sides as bullets are still being rained towards VN1 as they go to try and recover. Now that we've got all members of Ace Esports back into the game, they're able to apply pressure in kind, knowing that they've got that current man advantage.
Yes, this is likely going to be another disengage for Ace Esports. They've been able to pull PrawDJ back rather a little bit up the hill behind another rock. Well, a rock in a hard place is what he continues to be behind, but a good disengage nonetheless. It looks like he's going to get to safety unless any lucky shots ring true through the foliage.
Bucky seems to be the point man when it comes to proximity to the enemies, but he's retreating back up to the rest of VN1. Going to hold around these buildings. I don't think I'm pursuing this if I'm Ace Esports. This is a team you don't want to trifle with, and if they pressure this too hard, VN1 are going to bite back, and suddenly you might find yourself being squad wiped out in the early stages of this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in these final 2 days of the group stages if we see teams playing incredibly passively, if they are allowed to, like Ace Esports was in that scenario. Back off a little bit as much as you can to get on the southwestern edge of the circle, where you see them now essentially in the center of the previous circle center point. But again, this is the smart play to make from them. They traditionally, at least in this tournament, they've not been the dominant fraggers in the lobby, but again, you have to at least make it into those top 5 positions to really get a lion's share of the points being distributed.
Looking all healthy on the side of Misfits. They've recovered greatly from their first engagement they had against Team Arrow, where they squad wiped them, and now they're looking to get into the game. They are awfully close to members of Method. There's one off to the right of the POV of Percasas. They're going to fall into a pincer trap here. Grenade already coming in to try and pin them down. It's going to have shots fired by Clay. Ace has already been knocked down by that member. And Jibe priming up that grenade. Wants to get it over the top. Some healing coming in. It's Percasas. She's going to take cover behind the rock. Try and slow this down, hold the sight lines as the grenade's being traded. That's a molly right on top of Percasas. He's already starting to feel the burn as Everfury has now flushed him out, and the shots are going to come in from Clay to knock him down and put Misfits on the back foot.
He is on fire in the worst way possible. Not the play that you want to be in if you're on the Misfits squad here, but they also need to be careful. Like you said, Trid, they've already seen engagement so far here in game number 1. In terms of attrition, they are certainly losing that war as Method continues to rain down pressure. Grenades are flying. They've got Misfits on their back heels, and well, they're going to be pushing forward as far as possible as Pyra tries to do whatever he can to throw out this concealment, try to back off the members of Method in any way possible.
It was so thankful they got their knock on to Everfury as well, just to relieve that pressure. With one member down, they wouldn't fully commit to the rush, and it buys Misfits some time to get Percasas back in the game. The angle advantage is still on Method. They have the high ground. They're able to rain down the pressure. And Misfits are definitely still on the back foot. Thankfully, both teams are in the area, so not going to have to worry about the play zone forcing their hands, but they still want to make sure they're in safe positions, which are just not being warranted by this climb up the hill they need to progress through.
You know, this is no surprise to me to see Misfits bombing center. If you recall their gameplay, or if you check in those VODs on clubopen.PUBGMOBILE.com, well, you certainly know Misfits are always in the center of the circle, whether they're gifted the circle or whether they make those rotations. Method, watching those angles very carefully, but they have to continue to do so because other teams are starting to move into the area, and now Misfits have found themselves pinched. And between 2 different teams off to the northeast, well, it's going to be none other than Method, and then down to the southwest, it's going to be team number 15, I believe.
That's AreYouScared.
That is AreYouScared, yes, moving into this compound, 4 strong still. So we might see an epic 3-way fight break off with full squads.
This is terrible for Misfits Gaming. Like I said, they're stuck between Method and AreYouScared, and these are 2 of the top teams we have here right now. It's going to be difficult. If they try and move through anywhere else or move close to the center, they might just open themselves up into some fire. But AreYouScared happy to hold this position, but they're more concerned about what's coming from the outside. They're positioning themselves further away because there's an engagement happening across the way between Latinos Undios and, of course, NorthAmerica F6, which is going to be raging on. And that's drawing the attention of AreYouScared. They're even third-partying this one as they can get a knock onto Handsome. Just keeping an eye on anyone they can on this hill as they open it up again. Even Unnamed getting on this one. There's 4 parties involved in this fight, just spraying down on the chaos, watching them fight together and getting whatever they can out of it. Chacho going down. The health pack has to come in from Mateus to keep him in the game. He's got the Vector who's just going to come around the corner, try and get some shots onto Unnamed, but he's sprayed down from across the way by AreYouScared.
And Latinos Unidos is going to be eliminated in 12th position here in game number 1 of the day. Not the performance, quite the opposite of the performance that Trid, you and I were telling the viewers at home they needed to have. Latinos Unidos have 3 more games to do whatever they can to rack up those points, but back here in this lobby, 11 teams remain, 40 players alive, and G6 continues to rack up the kills. They've got 6 kills to their name so far, but they have to worry about the next shift. Down to the far southern region we go off of our previous circle centrality, and they have to worry about Home Alone. That's going to be pushing on that exact same path.
And look at this rotation Unnamed are having to make. AreYouScared were playing Gatekeeper on their path into this next circle. So they've been tanking blue for a little bit. They just need a safer option as G6 going to open up onto Home Alone. Just the stragglers trying to also find their way past the gatekeeping squad of G6. Galaxy's been knocked, Plan B's at 50% HP, and Bunny is the only full health member still roaming around. G6 have the advantage here, and they can just hold them out and let the blue do all the work and force in their hands. And there you go, Bunny, just going to get knocked down as well. There's only one member standing for the side of Home Alone. He's got to do recovery and try and get into the next circle. And G6 going to use this window of opportunity to just run away, knowing that they have to recover and get out of this blue.
A necessary task for G6 to accomplish right there, to do exactly what you said, Trid, get that window of opportunity. You didn't see them waste enough time to go for the entire squad wipe. They got the 2 knocks, and then you take your chance there to disengage. Home Alone, though, they're trying to recover off of this, and in phase number 4, well, they have a limited amount of time to do so. The blue zone will be taken away at their HP
Baba.
and depleting those meds as we pop over back to AreYouScared. Cow going to be right inside of the building from where one of the members of NAF6 is. The shots come out, and they're going to be aggressively pushing out of this, but it's going to be NAF6 able to get a quick knock on a Mighty before he's ultimately taken out of the game.
And then Team Totality, they're just taking shots on Method. They've caught him with their pants down and trying to get the shots on the Steamy. We'll get that kill confirmed. The flush coming in, and now he's looking for G-Bay as well. He's taking cover behind this metal pillar. He's going to be taken out by the spray from another angle of Team Totality. Everfury and Clay still alive for Method, but they're looking down the barrel of multiple teams.
As the shots continue to come out, Everfury trying to do whatever he can to both put out the damage onto Totality Gaming down here to the south of where their current position holds. But now G6 enters the fray. The shots continue to come out between this 3-way fight now. Method, G6, as well as Totality, all trying to vie for this position as Misfits roll in here as well. Triggs, he's got the ghillie suit. He's going to be very camouflaged here in the jungle foliage, just on the opposite side of the rock where Acer is pushing up on. Acer, remember, one of the strongest members on this Misfit squad, going to be missed entirely, but now the connection comes out. He's
trying to go for the flush.
Getting a knock.
He's not going to be able to get the flushes yet. It takes over behind the rock, and there comes Misfits in to deal with Triggs and Dodger, Lord Fudo, and Richie. They're nowhere to help him. They're just going to lose that player. Everfury now the only remaining member of Method, because they were so busy with that engagement with the Method squad, they completely forgot about Misfits, and they just lose one for nothing because of it. Valiant effort from Triggs, but just not enough to deal with Ace and the rest of Misfits.
Here's the deal, though. You might be concerned if you haven't been watching Method play throughout the weekend, having only one player left, but this is where Method shines. Surprisingly enough, with one player alive, Method has the strategy worked out to work their way in to those top 3 placements if they are going to be allowed to, as G6 tries to recover. They've got members bleeding out inside of the blue zone, trying to crawl to safety. One is going to be able to do so, and thankfully it is a Lushy. Yayo running in. He's got to leave Swai behind as he gets dropped down to the blue zone and out of the game.
Osway not so lucky there. Misfits were holding the angle to try and catch G6 as they came into the circle, but now they'd rather reposition and get a more advantageous one because the circle has moved yet again further to the south, forcing all those teams in the northern ring just to head down into the chaos. We've got 10 teams remaining, and the circle's getting smaller as we're heading into phase 5.
Rotation's already coming out. You can see G6 off to the far northeast on the minimap making a rotation around that eastern side, but Lord Fudo from Totality also has to move. Totality again. Dodger's got the ghillie suit, but here comes the crash. flash. VN1 going to be slamming into the building where Ignite Gold was previously holding, but it's going to be Ignite Gold up on top of this as the trades come out. 1 for 1. Now another going to be coming out as Rand gets dropped down. VN1 continues to return back on this. They're evening the odds. They're trying to stall this engagement. Maybe a reset coming out as Keep tries to roll around this building, trying to get some lines of sight onto the fallen VN1 members.
Surely they don't get away with this one. That was one of the ballsiest crashes I've seen, and it started going south immediately. But now Creep is going for the resurrection. VN1 support is too far away. The long sightlines being maintained by a member up on the hill. I believe it is Bucky who is up there. And now they're going to have to try and spray down. All the members are back, but we're on with one with AreYouScared. They're just dealing with the last members of Home Alone who recovered, got themselves into the circle. They're just going to be sprayed down. Oh, Bunny! Might have dealt enough damage there for TJ Tattoo, but actually the shot coming in from Sin. He's one of the top fraggers in this group, and he was able to get up a kill just at the last moment there, as the rest of Unnamed are trying to salvage this round.
6 teams remaining, 17, well, mark that 5 teams remaining. It so quickly changes here on Sanhok. The action is popping off all around these final circles of game number 1. Unnamed off to the far southwest, outside of the circle. They've got to make their way inside. Misfits, again, off to the far north, have a long trek across a wide open area to try to get to safety, and Unnamed's Bill is already looking that direction, possibly having already spotted out the members of Misfits that have to work their way down this hill. Trid, I fear for Misfits unless they've got some smoke utility to throw out for concealment.
They got to get something to move around here. 2 complete squads, make that 3 complete squads. Ignite Gold, Wildcard, and Unnamed still in the game, and it's just a 2-man squad of Misfits trying to get themselves into the game. They are the furthest away from the current circle, and it's Ignite Gold that are currently in their pass, but Unnamed can get the sightlines on here. Fire going to be returned onto Uneven. He's going to be able to knock down what's on, as he needs to move down into cover with Pyro and get some recovery. He's happy to get the knock and then move into safety because he knows he can't take the fight here. Chaos going to deal with Unnamed Sin, gets the knock, and then Chaos actually then going to be taken down by Pyro. So they're applying pressure to both squads wherever they can whilst keeping themselves safe.
The fact that Misfits was able to make that rotation down the hill into this compound is absolutely incredible, but they are not safe inside of the next circle just yet. And look what is in front of them. Absolutely nothing in terms of cover. Those palm trees are much too skinny to hide behind, and it's going to come down to who pops off first. Misfits have to do something here to frag out. They've got to get some knocks on their opponents. Already going to be tossing nades inside of the building where Ignite Gold was holding, and that might be finding a connection. That's Uneven going to be spraying down with the AKM. Marvis goes down for Ignite Gold. Pyro going to be finding a connection on Chaos. Ignite Gold getting absolutely ripped through by the 2 remaining members of Misfits.
And now that's just the ultimate. They've opened Pandora's box here, though, Esquire. As soon as they open the fire, they confirm the location for Wildcard, and the other complete squad Unnamed just rain fire on them. So you've lost Pyra, you've got Uneven still in the game. He's just going to take cover now, play for placement. They managed to get Misfits Gaming a 3rd place spot by dealing with Ignite Gold. Now it's all on Uneven to try and let the Chaos unsue in the kill feed, as Unnamed's moving on to Wildcard. Ranger get the first knock. Raven's going to go down as well. Zeus being the second knock on the side of Unnamed, on the side of Wildcards. Unnamed have the advantage here. It's about when Misfits Uneven decides to pop up and try and play spoiler in this fight.
Exactly right. Uneven is loving what he's seeing in the kill feed. You'll want these 2 teams to be engaging, get that 2nd place finish, and it's 1 kill away. Bill is the only member still alive for Unnamed, and he's trying to combat against the wildcard push from down the hillside as Illusions tries to peek over. Might be spotting him soon. He continues to push up this hill, secures the flush on a Miski, but does not spot out Bill just yet as Bill sprays down the head of Illusions. Not quick enough, though. Wildcard wipes out the members of Unnamed and now just have to deal with 1 more member of Misfits up the hill, Uneven.
If he comes in here fast enough, he might be able to get a couple of knocks while they're weak, but he's already guaranteed 2nd place for Misfits. To ask Uneven to pull off a 1st place finish in this, I think is slightly unreasonable, but if he can do it, he'll be able to get himself a solid position as one of the star players of this tournament so far. It looks like they're firing random shots right now where they think they might be, or just trying to flush him out. Circle has come in, and Misfits Uneven is in a good position here. He's got the high ground, so he's got the best LOS possible on the new area that's been formed. Grenade going to be thrown out, very close to him, but not definitely confirmed. Uneven lining up the shot with the AK, going to go for the spray down onto Ranger, but there's too many bodies on the floor, and the Micro Uzi will deal the damage required. Misfits Gaming go out in 2nd, but more importantly, Wildcard Gaming take map number 1.
And with 11 kills, nonetheless, Wildcard and Wildcard fans around the globe are currently shouting out, stack the deck, because that's exactly what they did right there. But a 12-kill finish as well for Misfits in 2nd place, not too bad. Misfits are continuing to rack up the points, and well, I think that's going to put them now up on top in 1st position of the leaderboards, unless I'm mistaken, Trid.
They should be able to hold that position for now, but like we said, Nova aren't playing today, so obviously they was going to happen at some point in time. A 12-kill game to kick things off, not a bad start, but but I believe second place only going to give you 20, I think it's
22.
22 points.
Yep.
But then you throw in the 12 in there, they're walking away with quite a lot of points from game number 1, so that's not something to turn your nose at.
No, certainly not, and especially on the back of a solo player. Uneven, they've shown, Misfits that is, they've shown that they can contest these teams as a squad, but also as a solo player. When things don't necessarily go their way, they're able to sort of salvage things, and that's exactly what they did there.
Yeah, they were able to deal with Ignite Gold quite handily. I was very impressed by the push they were able to make into that circle, into the compound there, dealing pressure equally to the two teams that could have messed them over. Unnamed and Ignite Gold, both receiving a lot of damage and pressure from a two-man squad. It was fantastic. It just secured them a great position to take away second. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you map number 2. It's Vikendi.
welcome back everyone to day number 5 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. My name is Esquire, joined here by Trid. We just had game 1 of the day played out, and what an exciting game it was.
Yeah, we saw Wildcard Gaming picking up the first map win, and Misfits sneaking their way into second place just by being a little bit cautious and letting the action die down between two of the highest ranking teams. I believe Unnamed got into that third place position, and we saw a lot of engagements coming on. It was a really good performance coming out from G6 on this push, particularly up against Shoguns to get the knocks down here, and then they just take wide angles around the terrain and able to just deal with them quite handedly. And there was a lot of good engagements coming out from teams throughout the course of this map.
Yeah, there certainly was. Another one right here on behalf of Misfits. Well, they certainly had that turned back onto them. The mollies came out huge from Method. They were trying to zone them, but ended up finding that connection. And well, burn, baby, burn is what Percasauce is trying to avoid. And
this should have been it for Misfits. Method should have been able to get this wipe here because they had everything under control. They had the high ground advantage. You had 2 members down at this point for Misfits. You should have been able to push onto that one and finish them off. Instead, Misfits, they're able to recover. They disengage from the fight. Even after they were potentially getting pincered between AreYouScared and Method, they were able to sneak their way out because there were other firefights happening around the map, and they were able to snake their way into a second place finish. So it was well played by Misfits to get themselves back up on the leaderboard.
Yeah, unfortunately, the one team that couldn't snake their way out of trouble was Latinos Undios over there on that far western edge. When a team just comes out of the blue zone, they take control of that position, they catch you off guard. But let's take a look at how our leaderboards continue to develop after game 1 of the day has been played out. You're looking at your bottom quarter of the leaderboards.
So ImYourEnemy, they haven't actually attended the previous lobby and are not going to be playing in this round either. So I think they may have just tapped out of the competition. So expect them to occupy that 32nd place spot. They're not going to be able to get the adequate amount of points to climb up the rankings. In this group who are still playing today, you've got likes of Home Alone, Team Totality, they're sat down here as well, Ace Esports and Shoguns. They're playing today. They need to be racking up the points, putting in more of a performance because there's no chance they should be on that card by the end of today. If they still are, they deserve to not be with us in the semifinals.
All right, well, truer words have never been spoken, at least here on this analyst desk for the PUBG Mobile Club Open. But let's continue to look now at the top parts of our leaderboard. As we continue to go up, the points continue to climb, and well, a bit of separation starts to occur, especially in between sort of that 12th, 11th, and 10th positions where you start to see some pretty big gaps start to form. VN1 though, in 9th position, they're looking pretty good.
They've actually just dropped down a position. They were in 8th place, but they've not been able to get the adequate amount of points. I believe they've been knocked out by the likes of Wildcard Gaming, who just climbed the ranks off of that first place victory and got themselves into 6th, because I believe they were 10th at the start of the day, and then that's just moved everyone down, including VN1.
Some teams move down and others move up, specifically right there in place number 1, none other than Misfits Gaming. They've been able to overtake Nova. Again, Nova is not playing today. They had their games yesterday. We'll see them again tomorrow. But Misfits are certainly back on that climb. They had a slow start to their previous day of gameplay, but they are here, they are swinging, and we saw them pick up a lot of kills in game number 1.
And Vikendi was such a good map for them in the previous game days. I'm expecting more of the same. The plane's in the air, we're flying over the tundra. Let's get ready to jump into game number 2.
Game number 2 is popping off from the far southern region of Vikendi all the way up there towards the north. One of the more favorable plane paths that you could hope for, that you could ask for, that you could even dream about as our players start to depart the cargo hold and fly across the snow map of Vikendi, the newest addition to the PUBG map lineup.
Still technically in beta, but it is of course playable. 6x6. If you played other versions of PUBG, you should be completely aware of what to expect from this map, but it is the new map to PUBG Mobile, and we're expecting a lot of play here in this week and in future weeks as well, because Vikendi is one of these mainstay maps in our map rotation for gameplay in this Club Open.
Exactly. Getting a little bit cold here, Trid. We haven't seen a Miramar game in a hot minute, but that's going to be changing certainly over the next few weeks as we break into the semifinals for North America. But we do see phase number 1 pop here in game number 2 of the day, and nothing has changed, at least in terms of the theme of these circles. Off to the far east, we will be taken for phase number 1.
So what we've seen from Vikendi throughout the this stage of the tournament in particular is that they were able to maintain a high team and player count into later phases, and then all of a sudden, the game just balances on a cliff face, and it just tips over at a moment's notice, and suddenly you lose 10 squads in the space of 2 minutes. We're probably going to see more of the same here, because these teams are going to start going into the right-hand side here, the eastern side of the circle. So we already see the first knocks of the game coming through as AreYouScared taking an engagement with NorthAmerica F6 just to the northwest of Villa, and are in that Geralto area.
Certainly an interesting area. Not a lot of players have found themselves inside of the zone, and by virtue of that, they will have to make those rotations. Cal, Are You Scared? No helmet to their name, no vest either. Will be pushing up with their teammates, trying to capitalize on the knocks that they were just able to achieve. In F6, though, they're on that back foot. They're trying to skirt away from this area, this Goroka area, one of the more hot locations on Vikendi, at least a popular place to go to in the public matches. It certainly drew the attention of two of our top teams in North America here.
Surprisingly, if we looked at the map a little quickly, like, there's a lot of area on the western side of the map that's just unoccupied. All these teams are playing very condensed, very early on into this round, and so our expectations of having an elongated powder keg of a fight may actually decrease purely because of the proximity of these teams to kick things off. When they start making those first rotations into phase 1, they're going to be spotting each other, they're going to be taking firefights, they're going to try and capitalize on the mobility and try and get some early kills here to rack up those additional points and guarantee a greater placement.
Baba, the rest of the crew of NAF6, continuing to disengage off of this Goroka spot, picking up that nice Dacia, heading off to the north, trying to reunite with Handsome, and hopefully get out of dodge, because like you mentioned, Trid, this entire area, this northwestern sector that NAF6 has found themselves in is action-packed, or is at least soon to be, with how many teams have found themselves in that exact same spot. But Handsome's going to be picking up another Dacia, so NAF6 will have at least 2 vehicles to take on that rotation, which could prove to be a little bit deadly.
Why is Prodigy by himself?
You know, we all make decisions, Trid. That's what you can sum it up to. Yeah. We all make decisions.
VN1 are swarming this compound right now. If Prodigy's not careful, he'll get spotted out by just one. All it takes is VN1. Just one of them to spot him, or hear the footsteps to put him on high alert, and he's going to be in serious trouble here. But he immediately turns around. He's trying to get as far away as possible, but the shots are already coming in. Prodigy already getting knocked, and his teammates are nowhere to be found to help him. He's going to cower behind this rock, but VN1 are just going to go for the rush and finish him off.
Yeah, so let me explain what happened here. You saw Polar Ace Esports out of the plane. They dropped in a very spread location on the northern side of Vikendi. This is a good loot drop for them, except when all these other teams end up jamming into this area very tightly. So again, when you play like that, you have to have full faith and confidence in your solo players to both, 1, see it coming, catch VN1 on the approach, and 2, being able to disengage very, very quickly. Neither was able to happen there for that player of Polar Ace, and while Pro DJ finds an early fate here in game number 2.
Yeah, it's absolutely caught with his pants down on that one, Esquire. So VN1 picking up their first kill. That's 1 point guaranteed in the bag while they continue out. And they're going to be looking to move closer to this phase 1 circle, which is over to the east. Misfits relatively uncontested in that Vihar Mavatra area that they're occupying, but it's that northwest quarter that's just, it's riddled with teams, Esquire, and I don't expect them to be the only ones, as Galaxy are taking pop shots at G6. Yayo in that vehicle looking for the early rotation to try and get mobile. They're actually inside the circle right now, so they're under no pressure as Yayo gets some airtime over in the distance. He's going to get himself into the cover and away from the gunfire of Home Alone.
In the centralized areas of the circle, Home Alone essentially just trying to put out pressure shots right there. They weren't trying to capitalize on any types of flushes, any types of knocks or kills. They just wanted to continue to send every other team near this compound on their way packing, as PWin does just that, looting through these buildings, trying to pick up whatever necessities he can find along the way. NAF6, though, fully committed now to this rotation. They're going to be trying to weave their way through several distant teams as they go from west to east, and while a lot of teams are going to be looking their direction, this is essentially going to be threading a needle very carefully as they pass through the coal mines.
Having already lost F2, there's 3 members. They want to head over to Peshkova. Unnamed are going to be rotating down from the north, from Trevno, to go and contest that. So that Peshnova might not be the best position. Team Totality just going to drive straight past Home Alone. Well, more accurately, just 2 members in that vehicle. No, it's just the one driver. It's Triggs, the lone warrior, going for the scout, I believe, ahead of the path for the rest of Team Totality. And no one gave him any information to use. He might have spotted a couple of members of Home Alone, but it's unlikely that Team Totality are going to be prepared if anything happens. But they're playing further to the coastline, up on the east. They should be able to avoid all the attention they might draw to themselves.
So Trid, I always try to find the positives in my gameplay when I'm in these situations, and well, I hope Team Totality is trying to find the positives here because they are at least inside of the circle. Us having the benefit of being able to see the map and where these teams went, that's a lot more than a majority of the lobby can say. A lot of rotations still need to come out from that far northwestern part of the zone, and specifically coming out of Method, this is one of the teams that found themselves amongst conflict a little bit far away to keep them safe from any of those shots, but certainly a little bit too close for comfort as well, as they all try to keep a close eye on their surroundings, being very aware that Ace Esports Shakes, another solo player in this drop, has at least reunited with one of his teammates, and they're going to be spotting this method transition, getting that information that it's going to be a little easier to transition out of here, but might be a little bit more difficult to actually breach in to phase number 1.
Like you said, that lack of information they have, yeah, they can spot Method going away, but there's still about 3 other teams in the area. That might give them false hope that it's an easier path to victory for them, and they might take a ill-advised, under the circumstances, initiation. But Home Alone, Galaxy getting a knock with a molly onto another member of an enemy team, so keeping that engagement alive. They're still occupying that central position, or just south of center position of the circle. So we're on board with Everfury and Method, who are starting to make those rotations into the circle, because the circle is, of course, or the blue, more accurately, is moving in and starting to force the hands, albeit very slowly.
Certainly a little bit pressure that is being felt on the backs of some of these teams that have to make those transitions. Misfits going to be making that transition of their own. Misfits started out on the very far southwestern corner of Vikendi, completely outside of the circle, way polar opposite end, but now they have made their way very near to the cement factory. They've crossed through the castle. All of the extreme choke points have been passed, and well, Misfits is looking pretty good. They've got multiple vehicles to work with, and you have to be at least a little bit scared being in this lobby with such a dominant team and not seeing them go out.
Getting closer to Home Alone, the cars will alert their position to them, and they're even getting awfully close. They're in firing range if Home Alone want to take some pop shots, but they're not going to get in that one. Instead, they're on a collision course with VN1. They make that brief pivot down the side of the mountain to avoid those sight lines and get into hopefully what will be a safe compound for them to operate. But here comes the gunfire from behind. VN1 have found those sight lines onto Pyra. As the return fire comes in, the Misfits members who got in early were able to return fire, relieve that pressure onto that 4th man, and now they have locked this compound down for themselves.
Surprising that VN1 didn't decide to target any of those members of Misfits that popped out in the compound, instead aiming their sights down onto that vehicle, leaving those other members of Misfits to just ring down gunfire, sling that lead as far up the mountain as possible, and find the connections. VN1 going to be able to recover off of this, but they have to worry about other teams now beginning to posture in this area. Wildcard going to be dangerously nearby, about 100 meters off of this position. Totality as well. 4 teams so jam-packed. If action pops off, expect to see some third parties come in trying to chase those points.
And the only team that's not in the current phase circle is Polar Ace Esports. Shake and Dilly are still trying to find their way in, as well as GPP. No one should contest their current path, but Latinos Undios are quite close to where they're going to enter into this phase circle, so they might have some difficulty here. But Wildcard, just going to be trying to fortify the position they're in. Like we said, they are part of that 4-team shenanigans crossfire, which is actually evolving right now because now we have Method and G6 in the party as well. So things can light up very quickly if people start to leave the safety of the houses they built for themselves.
Seeing a lot of yellow name tags in this area, but make no mistake, these are 2 separate squads. Bitter enemies, G6 versus Method. Lushy has already spotted out the Method squad just down the hill from his position, relaying this information to his teammates so that all could be aware, because they heard other vehicles come in. AreYouScared has now entered the scene. They're going to be at least a force to be reckoned with should the action pop off here. Every team, though, in this area, Trid, and I believe they're just off of the east of Podvosto, they've got to be careful. Any type of engagement that doesn't favor their position could end in an ultimate squad wipe.
Yeah, it's the east and southeast range. Ranger already getting the knock onto Cal from AreYouScared. That seems to be the engagement at the forefront of what's happening right now, but it dies down very quickly because the cover that these teams can then fold behind and disengage quite easily, because no one's going to go and rush the compounds, right? You're not going to leave the safety of your compound when so many teams are in the area. So once they get the res onto Cal, they just retreat back into holding down sight lines, make sure he's resed and healthy, and keeping an eye out if anyone wants to make any aggressive moves and potentially crash into the safety of their zone.
AreYouScared able to recover off of that knock that they suffered? Thankfully for them, as Wildcard continues to look on. All of these teams, though, I mean, you're not going to see a big battle pop off just yet until these teams are forced to either relocate or it's going to become even more crowded if the circle shifts in this compound's favor. But again, everyone just trying to posture, trying to safely get information and maybe even some shots. Team Error, though, off there in the distance, Hot Jukes leading this squad, will be rolling in here. And with that third-person perspective, PWin is able to at least pick up this information. Again, PUBG, sure, it's about fragging out. You're not going to be able to get through these games without killing, but it's also about getting information. It's also about implicating, or rather implementing, that team strategy along the way.
Plan B, just going for a ride, going to flip that vehicle. And That new circle, the Phase 2 one that's come in, hasn't really changed much for these teams. Not many are going to have to change up where they've gone, but you're still going to have to see the teams like Latinos Undios, Ace Esports, and Ignite Gold pushing a little bit further, but there's still plenty of space that's not occupied by teams already because they've congregated mostly in the center. So those outer and edge regions should be relatively uncontested if you just want to play safe and keep playing edge.
And this is fairly typical on these Vikendi matches. The circles are a little bit different than what you see on Sanhok, Miramar, and Erangel. That second shift off of Phase 1 isn't going to be that drastic reduction in play area. It's going to give these teams at least a little bit more time and where they found their initial positions inside of Zone 1, unless you're just extremely unlucky and find yourself in those outer 20% of the area. That's not going to be safe for Phase 2. But speaking about not being safe, Method will be under fire. Cal, previously knocked, will be spotting on an enemy team across the road. He's got the VSS, he's got the barrel, the 7.62 rounds are prepped and ready, but opts for that 9mm shot. Again, Trid, the VSS is one of the more popular guns here in PUBG Mobile. We'll see if Cal can capitalize on that.
Got Clay in his sights. No one else is really looking his way. If he gets a little bit more time, he might want to take those shots, and pretty relatively safe from their compound. So I think this is an engagement they would want to take, especially if they could just get a free knock onto an enemy team. They may not do anything with it and go for the flushes. There's fire coming in from VN1. Ran, taking another shot down onto Misfits. They already felt a little bit wounded from the last time they tried to go toe-to-toe with one of these leading teams, but they're going to come back into this one. Zeus getting the knock onto Shinju from AreYouScared. And Pyra finding himself some tasty little loot in one of the drops.
Yeah, certainly going to be a tasty loot infusion for the members of Misfits. Again, a team that you don't want to be picking up these powerful guns. But alas, they have done so, and they will continue on. All 4 alive, 0 kills to their name so far, but again, we haven't seen many kills pop off in this match. It's been fairly passive as far as things go, sort of a product of these teams being able to find safe locations inside of these larger Phase 2 circles.
I'm surprised the Misfits have been completely uncontested with this crate. No one's even gone for it, but there's the knock. AreYouScared finding one with that VSS. There's Cal just finally getting that shot onto Clay. He was looking and waiting for that for so long. Finally, his anticipation was rewarded with a knock.
Patience, patience, patience. Sometimes you gotta have it. I mean, it's almost like going on a hunt for wild game, right? You have to have that patience. You gotta wait for the exact moment to capitalize on it, and Cal certainly did just that. The other members of VN1, though, very aware of their surroundings. They're not just tunneling here on this Method squad. They're continuing to be aware of the fact that Misfits going to be just down the south, off of the hill that they are currently postured on. Method still across the road. Wildcard still up the hill as well. It's going to be deadly here, Trid, and none of these teams have had to move yet. It's almost like a false sense of security for these teams hiding inside of these compounds.
And the next circle's just popped, so we can have a quick look at that. Yet again, no teams are really going to struggle here to find a new position, although the hand's not really being forced, but the likes of Chacho may have to go through, Chacho and the rest of Latinos Undios may crash into NorthAmerica F6 on their current trajectory coming into that next circle, and Ace Esports, they'll be able to get themselves in if they just go through Pod Vosto. But Galaxy thinks he may have spotted something, keeping an eye out on the ridge, and looking in the direction of Misfits players. He's got sights on Pyra, doesn't take the shot, and now he's disappeared into the smoke, and he's going to be lying down. He's bang in his sights. Galaxy can take this shot if he just lines it up properly. But he's not taking, he's not firing. He's just waiting even longer. And the longer he waits, Pyro is actually going to draw fire from another team. And immediately, what seemed like a safe shot has now been spooked by someone else.
And this is Home Alone. This is not a team that's sitting comfortably in those top 8 positions on the leaderboards. They need these points wherever they can get them. And when they're lying down like that, right in front of your eyes with no cover, you have to capitalize on the shots. But I think we're about to have some shots capitalized on here as Latinos Undios have found themselves dangerously close to conflict. It's going to be none other than team number 4, NAF6, that is posturing inside of that compound. They're trying to call in their other teammates. Clonus is dangerously far away, and they've already lost.
They're leaving him. Clonus and Chacho have just left him. They're going to go into the point. And Happy just sprays down Mateus. He can't get into the vehicle, and that's another kill coming in. They've got F2 and Mateus now going down. NAF6 picking up 2 more kills when they crashed into Latinos Undios' position. But like we said, Chacho and others have got themselves further ahead into safety, into the circle. They just cut their losses on that one, Esquire.
And that's the smart play to make. Again, placement points, you're getting the bulk of your points that way. So pulling off that was smart. Sure, they lost 2 teammates in the process. But this is the other thing, Trid. When this happens to you, when so much pressure is on, it's really going to be a test of your team's mental fortitude, whether or not you can continue on in the final 2 games of the day after this and try to rack up those points, or are you going to tilt off the face of the earth and essentially find yourself continuing to stay in those bottom positions?
Team that doesn't want to do that, Ace Esports, been very quiet this game, relatively uncontested, going through that northern route to enter north of Podvosto. Mateus will finally go down, getting the flush to confirm that there will only be 2 members of Latinos Undios in these final circles of the game, as Ace will start making that rotation. They're not on a collision course with anyone yet, but they may fall victim to NorthAmerica F6, depending on how quickly that team themselves move into the center of the circle.
I mean, Polar Ace is essentially playing this map the safest way that they possibly can.
Edge.
I mean, and not even that. They're like, blue zone, blue zone, blue zone. Okay, now we have to move. So, I mean, again, you can't take anything away from that. That's the strategy that they've chosen to bring into this game, and we've seen it pay off for some teams. You might not get a ton of kills along the way, but when it really matters, you're finding yourselves in those top few placements. And again, you might find yourself a few kills if you make it that far into game number 2. As Home Alone continues to posture here in this compound, looking over, they've spotted out Unnamed approaching over the hillside. Just on the horizon, their heads shining through with the blue backdrop. And we'll see if Hal wants to actually take any shots here. Insane, he's got the M24 prepped and ready. That bolt-action sniper can absolutely take heads should they need to, but I think they're more worried about this shift that just came in. Down to the south, a hard shift is what they're going to be facing off with here in Phase 4.
Finally, now we're getting some phases that are forcing some hands, forcing some rotations, and ultimately forcing some firefights on this one. Unless, of course, you're Ace Esports and you just hug the blue, like we pointed out already. But the rest of these teams are moving in around Cement Factory, and many of these teams are already in the circle technically, but there are some, a lot more than previously, that will have to make that rotation through. Insane and the rest of Home Alone taking some shots or taking some firefights against Team Totality, trying to spray down on this vehicle, potentially disable it or potentially get a knock on the escape, but these teams are going to get out scot-free. Totality just licking their wounds, but they're going to get alive, and that's what counts.
G36C shots will be trying to ring true. A lot of damage being applied, a lot of pressure on the backside of Totality from Home Alone, and it continues to do so. It's going to be Air spotting out Lord Fudo. Totality is not out of dodge just yet. In fact, they're even more in the thick of things, I think, than they wanted to be. Nice lines of sight will be had by Team Air up there on the hill. 4 up again. This is not something that we saw from them on Sanhok. They were quickly decimated through in that Paradise Resort area by Misfits. But speaking of Misfits, here it is. The action pops off as a Lushy, one of the stronger members again of this G6 squad, will be found, dropped down, and flushed out of the game.
Galaxy's just being so cheeky, though. He's just stolen that right underneath from Misfits. They did all the work, and Galaxy came in and claimed the kill. That's just so annoying if you're Misfits, having to kills stolen by a team that's typically quite passive, usually in the form of Home Alone. But where you can get the points, let's get the points. No messing around with it.
Well, the kill stealing is something that I actually enjoy. I think it's a good component of competitive PUBG because it puts a risk-reward analysis on the member that gets the knock and also on the member that's trying to steal the kill. Is it worth it for me to go for these points right here, or should I sit back because there's way too many threats lying in wait? Well, certainly you miss out on that kill point, but you do eliminate one player off the map.
And based off of the 15 scores we started with, no team has been fully wiped as of yet, as we're getting through to Phase 4 right now.
20 minutes, Trid. We've only lost 6 players in this game.
This is typical for Vikendi. It happens every time. It waits and it teeters on the cliff face, and then all of a sudden, squads start dropping like flies because these circles aren't forcing many rotations, which is typically where teams are forced to play a little bit more aggressive, take fights that they might not want to or might not be favorable for them. So while this circle is just gifting almost teams this passive nature, it's going to be absolutely fine. But Ace Esports, they're not being gifted anything. They're going to have quite quickly NorthAmerica F6 raining down bullets on top of them.
Yeah, around this time, 20 minutes, 22 minutes on Vikendi and Miramar matches. I essentially coined the boiling point of these matches because that's when things start to erupt. Everything just starts to go into chaos. As Unnamed going to be spotting out Latinos Undios. The 2 members left. Well, one of them is already going to be going down, and Knock Chacho trying to stay alive, not just for his own, but for his team's placement here. Going out in game number 2 with another, at least low placement, is going to be detrimental for them as NAF6 spots out Ace Esports. Not safe anymore, still on the edge though, and with the blue zone on their back and NAF6 on their front, you have to wonder, how does Ace work their way out of this one?
Happy just yeets a grenade down to Ace Esports before he takes cover from behind, because they're taking shots from an alternative angle. Unnamed will get that knock onto Clonus. I believe that's the kill confirmed, actually. So it's not looking good for Latinos Undios. As NorthAmerica F6 actually going to jump in the vehicles and start getting out here. They don't want to be playing around this edge because the new circle has popped and it's even further east. A lot of teams quite safe and won't have to make any movement, but if you're on these border regions, now you're going to have to start crashing into compounds and taking these fights.
Ace Esports is legit saying in their comms, come on, can we please get a circle? Well, not when you play this edge play. That's the risk you run when you play like that. As V and 1 gets ripped through, it's going to be none other than Misfits, Pyra, Ace, or the rest of the crew storming through this building and picking it up. A nice squad wipe as NAF6 is rolling through. They're going to be spotted out by a few teams. Totality trying to pick up some kills. 0 kills to their name so far, but they've spotted out Unnamed off to the east, and they are trying to capitalize on the angles of approach.
Unable to find any shots as of yet. Happy, I think he just got knocked by his own vehicle as he's going by. Acer will get knocked onto Barber. So actually, a lot of pressure being applied by Misfits onto NorthAmerica F6. They tried to make the rotation. Happy now getting flushed as well as Barber. So NorthAmerica F6 not in a healthy position at all. The Solution's going to get knocked as well. It's P-Win from Home Alone actually going to get the flush onto that as well. So a lot of action happening as these rotations are coming, but for the most part, things are going to settle down while these teams are in the compounds now. They can start fortifying their positions as Wildcard are taking a lot of attention from Misfits, who just keep changing squad targets every couple of seconds.
Yeah, Misfits do not shy away from battle. That's a team that 90% of the time you will never see disengage because they're so confident in their skill, but Insane has been spotted out behind the tree. The smoke's being deployed by Plan B and Insane, trying to give them that window of opportunity, that brief concealment to push up to some hard cover, but it's not going to be able to do so. Insane gets spotted out by G6, a different angle, a different team, but he's going to be going down nonetheless, and Plan B follows in suit quickly thereafter. That's going to be Home Alone out in 13th position here in game number 2.
Ranger, Zeus, and Cobra, who I believe is playing his first game for Wildcard Gaming, are now currently locked up in this compound, and they're just playing on the edge right now, but they have some fortification to play around with and keep some safety, and Cobra's going to need just that as he starts taking some fire. That next circle's popped up. Misfits Magic is coming into play again. Dead center with AreYouScared. You got Wildcard on the edge as well, but there's a lot of teams popping in. Pyra with the bolt action, getting the knock onto Cal with a headshot this time around. Insane accuracy from this lad.
Name a more iconic duo, Misfits and Circle. Well, certainly they're inside, and certainly they got the circle, but again, take nothing away from their gameplay if they're able to play off of it, because you can be gifted everything, but you have to be able to execute off of the gifts you've been granted. As action pops off here, G6 could be under siege. It's to be none other than the members of Unnamed pushing up very aggressively. Oswe trying to spray down Miski. He's able to finally find the knock, and out they go. A quick turn on the hands of Unnamed.
Unnamed, one of the best fraggers in this group, able to deal with G6 quite handedly. But Misfits applying a lot of pressure onto Wildcard. That bolt action rifle coming in big, but now they turn their attention to AreYouScared. Cal might get the knock here. Is Totality actually taking an engagement with Error as they're looking to chase them into this next circle. HOKAGE playing around with this window. He's locked down, but he's going to try and get the spray through. They're just playing around this door, pivoting around, changing directions all the time. HOKAGE goes down. Lord Fudo being the one to do that as Luis presses forward, and just the spray down again. Only one member remains, and that's Reptar trying to take cover, trying to save his life, heal up and potentially go for the res, but Lord Fudo just going to get these flushes onto HOKAGE and guarantee there's going to be one member alive for Team Error.
Huge gain there for Totality. I mean, all things considered, a few kills, a few points, but that's more than we've seen them do essentially so far this tournament. 3 kills, 2 of them on Lord Fudo with that engagement right there. But he's got to worry about Reptar. He got a knock on that final kill onto one of the members of this squad, so he knows that Reptar's alive. The molly connects. Reptar is going to be burning down. His HP dropped to about 15 HP. And well, Lord Fudo going to be pushing. One nicely placed shot will take him out of the game, and he's going to be finding it with the micro Uzi.
Time to recover for Team Totality, but no rest for the wicked. If you're Misfits, they're raining down fire onto Method. Long shots being taken. Not on accuracy yet, but they're taking multiple engagements. You can see that while Ace is looking at Method, you've got Pyra still popping shots at AreYouScared, uneven, taking fights with Shoguns. Each member of Misfits is fighting a different squad right now.
And I mean, here's the thing. Misfits also has an AWM. The sound has been heard from every other team in the lobby, and well, they're certainly going to be cowering, knowing that this compound is putting out so much damage in the form of 300 Magnum rounds. But here it is, the push onto Shiyu of AreYouScared. Method trying to swarm, but they're inside of the smoke and not necessarily sure of the location of this solo member from this squad. And I don't even know if they know that he's here. Shiyu going to be just trying to third person perspective this, trying to make sure that he's not aggressed upon without having to drop on these members of Method. But the mollies come out. Jibei trying to land this on top of the rocket, goes a little bit past Shiyu's head, and he's going to be safe for the meantime, but peeks under the car, spotting the feet of Jibei, and out he goes.
Of all the people to try this play with, you're trying against Jibei, who did the exact same thing yesterday in his second group matches, just hiding in the smoke. He's going to be dealt with quite handily as they look underneath the vehicle to get those shots. Maybe we should be able to recover him quite handily. Just need to be conscious of where that secondary fire was coming from the rest of AreYouScared, who are up on this hill, unnamed, coming in behind him, it appears, as TJ Tattoo struggling to stay alive. Pyra's got eyes on AreYouScared with that bolt action and what is AWM, and it's going to be very difficult to stay up. Uneven getting the kills onto Clay, just knocking him down, so keeping Method under pressure. One of the only teams in this circle, and they have the most dominant position as the next one has popped, but all the teams have to come to Misfits. And Ace is going to pick up Jibei with this one as AreYouScared try to go for the resurrection, and then also getting the knock onto Cal. How many times has a Misfits member given a knock onto AreYouScared, who are now tanking the blue while they're trying to recover?
I mean, listen, Misfits in this compound have been putting out the damage. 10 kills to their name so far, and there's 16 other enemies left on the map for them to try to pick up. But I have to imagine their comms are just enemy 330, bam, they're picking it. They're shooting that direction. Enemy 270, bam, they're picking it. They're shooting that direction. And the action just continues to pop off. No teams are going to be able to make it out of here alive with Misfits in the background and then the meat grinder amongst themselves.
Perks just opening up onto the members of Wildcard Gaming who are taking a fight with Unnamed right now. They'll get a knock onto Zeus and even get that flush as well. Looking for Cobra. AreYouScared now taking too much fire as Cal's been knocked down. Mighty's in the prone, but they have to deal with Unnamed who are potentially going to rush them if they're not too careful. TJ Tattoo is looking for that angle. They're sitting in the smoke trying to find a way to get closer to this package, closer to AreYouScared to get the flushes. TJ Tattoo actually getting a knock onto Raven and getting the flush off the back of that one, so they're actually applying pressure, or enough of it, onto Unnamed to allow AreYouScared to get back into the game as their vehicle's now going to get destroyed as well.
A three-way fight down here to the south. Who is going to be able to come out of this victorious? But if you do come out of it victorious, are you going to be able to combat Misfits? Unnamed Bill going to be spraying down all the members of AreYouScared, picking up kill after kill after kill, but it's the insurance policy. TJ Tattoo off of the flank that is able to find the connection and drop down that dangerous fragger from Unnamed. Bill going to be bleeding out as TJ Tattoo tries to quickly get over to Mighty behind the UAZ to pick up the res. 5 more seconds, but very vulnerable in their position, and this is Misfits. They get the next circle. Phase number 8 belongs to this squad, and they're going to be choking out every other team that's currently in the play area as TJ Tattoo spots out the members of Unnamed, trying to stick the res, spraying over the hillside, not finding the connections.
I absolutely love what Misfits have done here. They had the cover in those buildings, but as soon as the area popped, they press forward. They know how many teams are left, and they can hear the engagements and the kill feed lighting up between Unnamed and AreYouScared, so they make the assessment. Let's go try and third party this. Why should we put all the effort in? We can pick up easy kills. They're taking an aggressive position to protect the edge of the next circle, so these teams are going to have to come to them against their own will purely because of the way the game is working.
Misfits could potentially leave this game with 20 kills. They picked up 15 so far, 4 more players left on the battlegrounds to try to compete against the members of Misfits. Uneven Ace or the rest of the crew, they've spread out. They've got a dominant hold on the southern side of the circle and now are gatekeeping every other team in this lobby. Unnamed, they're not going to be able to enter this circle. AreYouScared? They're not going to be able to enter this circle. It all comes down to who's going to be able to pick up these final few kills of game number 2.
They're going to pop as many smokes as possible to try and make that transition easier. TJ Tattoo actually fighting against Miski, so they're trying to get that second place position. As TJ Tattoo actually going to get that knock and confirm. Perksas will be knocked down by Bill, so Misfits actually being regretted right now as 2 members have gone down. It's just on Acer and Pyra to stay in this one as they start returning fire. Pyra's holding the angle with the AK. Wants to fire down onto TJ Tattoo. Will get the knock and the kill confirmed. The Uzi coming in onto Mighty. TJ Tattoo will get that as well. So I believe it's just Unnamed, 2 members of them against Misfits right now who hold the dominant position.
A 2v2. It started off as a 4v3v1, and now the tables have quickly turned or evened out. This could be Unnamed's win here if they could play this effectively, but it's not going to be easy. It's an uphill battle against the members of Misfits as Pyra's throwing out the zoning pressure, trying to get the Molotov on top of the members of Unnamed as Misfits continue to swarm. They've been able to push up to the rock where Percasas was bleeding out, trying to stick the
rotation
res.
from Sin. It's coming in. He's got down in the smoke already. They're trying to go for the resurrections. He's trying to get into a position where he might be able to capitalize on the slow play that Misfits have to do right now to get their teammates back into it. Pressure coming on. He's going to go try and get the flush onto Uneven, but he's bitten off more than he could chew. And his greed ultimately was his downfall. He went for the kills, and Misfits are able to secure themselves a first place finish. And I'm trying to work out the kills. A little bit of quick maths. 19 kills on a Vikendi. That is the Vikendi record smashed by Misfits.
Yeah, huge game coming out from Misfits. They played it beautifully from phase to phase to phase, all the way to the conclusion of the game. And Trid, we talked about it. Sure, they were given a few circles in the late game, but the way that they executed, the strategy they employed in those final few moments was incredible.
They abused the safety of their compound, and like we said, at one point, each individual member of Misfits was fighting another squad in the distance, applying so much pressure from that central position. They had a bit of Misfits magic to help them out when it comes to the circle generation, but like a squad keeps saying, yeah, you can be gifted advantageous circles, but it's on you to make those work and produce results with them, and that's exactly what Misfits did.
Sure, beautiful game, but that push from Unnamed, we're going to talk about it after the break, but I got to commend them. A huge second place finish for them. A team that has struggled a little bit. I mean, granted, top 32 teams in North America, everyone's going to find at least some time in this tournament they struggle, but love to see them bounce back off of it.
Well, that's all for this map. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to move into the double Erangel section of our broadcast. Do not go anywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, to the PUBG Mobile Club Open. My name's Esquire, joined here by, of course, Trid, and we just wrapped up game number 2 here of day number 5 of the Opens, the groups.
Misfits magic in full effect. What else can you expect on Vikendi when they're in here? Gifted circles, some might say, but they put in the work and they earned what they were given. I'm going to throw back to it again. There was a point in this match where every member of Misfits was targeting a different squad, and they were able to lock down a central position in the circle and just branch out afterwards from there to secure themselves victory.
Yeah, I mean, through and through, Misfits executed on every different stage of the PUBG mobile game they had to play out here to find themselves as the victors of Vikendi, and they did it in high fashion, beautifully wiping out squad after squad after squad, and really applying the pressure. I think every team in the final 5 teams alive really felt the power that was coming out of that compound that Misfits were sitting in.
It was a valiant effort from Unnamed at the end here as well. They just came down to 2 final squads. They managed to get 2 knocks. I believe it was Bill, the person to secure them. So it did open up an opportunity for a 2v2 for Unnamed to be able to do this. But to do that, they had to take out AreYouScared, which they were able to do. And these were the last 3 squads. It was these 2 taking the fight, but Misfits Gaming, they were just able to stay in their fortified position. And you can see the 2 knocks coming down here now. They're trying to apply some pressure onto Unnamed. And it's the rotation that comes out from Sin, I believe, that really caught me off guard, because he was just trying to try and go up on Percocet and Uneven and try and capitalize. You can see it come here now. He's considering it, and then he runs through the smoke here. Wants to get behind this rock. Pyro's keeping an eye on Bill. He knows he's in that position, but he goes back around to try and catch Sin off, because he has a feeling it's coming through. You see the spray coming through. He even gets a few tags on there from Pyro, but he wraps all the way around behind the smoke, takes a few shots to Acer, but he just spins it round on him and secures the victory for Misfits Gaming.
Yeah, I like the play that they were trying to accomplish there. They had Bill going around that western side, trying to close off any position on Misfits' flank, and they also had Sin try to do the exact same thing. Unfortunately, Bill got taken out, and immediately thereafter so did Sin. Huge win for Misfits, and let's pop over to our standings and see how teams have started to develop. What has transpired? Are teams dropping down, but are they climbing as well?
Team Totality, not looking good for them. Same with Home Alone, not getting the points on the board. Shogun's in a difficult position as well. There's a lot of teams in that bottom 8 who still haven't played yet, and we look into this bottom 16 area as well. You got lots of teams in here who still have not to play these games, like BlindedByWin, Pittsburgh Knights. They're going to be racking up 4 matches tomorrow, and they can guarantee they remain in this top 24, and those bottom 8 teams, we're going to be saying goodbye to them at the end of tomorrow's show.
I think for a big chunk of the lobby, tomorrow is going to be what we can dub Sweaty Sunday, because a lot of teams are going to be watching, hoping and praying that their point totals won't be surpassed and then find themselves in those bottom 8 spots. As we continue, though, to work our way up to this top half of the leaderboards for these 32 teams from the North American region, will we start to see some point differentials. Placement in 16th, North America F6, 7 points rather, but as you climb, about 50 points separates them from those top 8 placements.
Where it really starts to accelerate is in our top 8 when we have a quick look at what that looks like. 273 points from Misfits Gaming. That gap is 69 points between Nova and Misfits, and they want to increase that gap as much as possible so they can retain that first place, because what's going to happen at the end of Sunday's games for the teams that are safe is they're going to be reseeded into new groups, and we're going to drop the total number of groups down to 3. So you want to be in that first seed to, in theory, gain the most advantageous seeding out of these newly formed groups for our semifinals.
Certainly, and then in addition to that, just instill the fear of God in every other team competing for the North American region, not letting up and continuing to showcase your dominance on the lobby. That's Misfits' goal here, right? They're not getting anything other than essentially the ability to say we are the victors of this lobby by that first place finish. So again, whatever they can do, it's going to be icing on top of the cake for the gang of Misfits.
And what I think so impressive about that Misfits scoreline, if you had a quick look at the standings, it was they're leading in not only placement points, but also kill points as well. They don't have this imbalance and they're relying on one set play. They're able to do both of the score accrual action, shall we say, in this one. But we're jumping into our plane. We're going over the skies of Erangel as we jump into map number 3 of today's action.
Another fair playing path as we see ourselves starting in the far northwestern corner of Erangel and then ending down on Sanhok Island, the military base where we have seen a few teams opt to go down to actually loot. One of the teams that stands out for me, not playing tonight, but certainly you will see them again this weekend, going to be Nova, that likes to go to that Novo area. Well, any other teams try to stake their claim on this, because again, if you're advancing into the semifinals next week, top 24 teams, well, everyone's going to be doing their research, scouting out how your team plays.
So there's a lot of area to play with on this map. Of course, it is the largest of the maps in our rotation, going back to that 8x8 situation, and going to be flying down the map like we said. Method jumped out very early, and they're going to hug this northwestern side. G-Bay already making landfall so early on into this. So I think Georgia Pole is the territory that Method want to claim here.
And again, all to themselves, North Georgia Pole, that's a great spot to be. But if you get shifted on, if we see another Eastern Circle, I think everyone in the lobby is going to say, oh gosh, can we stop with these Eastern shifts? They are extremely difficult to work off of, especially when you have a Western favored plane path. But with that, the plane is at the end of its trajectory, and all players have been kicked out of the cargo hold and left to their own devices to try to define themselves the victors.
And there's that northeast circle. So it's not too bad for Method, who obviously dropped down early, but if you're on that military island, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you. And there's 3 different squads in this area. There's Method, Team Totality, and AreYouScared all on here. I think Lord Fudo is trying to get as far away from the main hotspot as he can. Richie from Team Totality is not actually on the island with them. He fell a little bit short and is on the main island of Erangel away from his team. So they're going to be playing with a handicap if they try and take any engagements against Misfits and AreYouScared.
A bit of a stretch off of a strategy normally that we see teams play on Sanhok Island, a 3-1 split, leaving one near that western bridge to try to watch and get information, let any other teams know if, or rather let your team know if any other teams are making that rotation from south to north. In this specific instance, you're not going to see any teams going from north to south. But again, Totality, this is a team where it doesn't seem like they have, I'm not going to say they don't have a lot of confidence, but they haven't necessarily displayed the skill sets that are needed to execute these 3-1 splits, or even a 2-2 split so far. So hopefully it works out for them. We'll have to see, though, how it transpires.
Look how separated VN1 are as well. Lucas is just going all the way over to Zaki by himself, it appears, while the rest of VN1, you got a couple of members in you got 1 member in Stalber, and you got 2 just north of the river from Ruins. So this is an extremely split VN1 very early on into Erangel.
Lucas going to be popping in the buggy, trying to skate his way along this far northern side of the map. Inside of phase number 1, just passing by the shooting range. And with Severny wide open, I'm going to be curious to see if any of these teams try to stake their claim to that area of land. But another few teams rather, need to stake their claim here to Pachinki. Pachinki has been a hotbed of destruction, no matter what lobby or lobbies are represented here today in today's games. Again, there's going to be a fight. Ignite Gold going to be squaring off against Unnamed Bill, a dominant fragger on this squad, prepped and ready in the 3-story, trying to get the lines of sight on his opponents.
He spotted out Ignite Gold, who were just sharing the territory of Pachinki with them, and Unnamed, they were a team that was actually fighting off the likes of Shoguns. I was interested to see where they've actually dropped on this one. They didn't even bother trying to contend Pachinki this time, like they had done nearly every other round against Unnamed. Instead, it's Ignite Gold who are doing the same thing. They're actually occupying the same territory that usually Unnamed have when they take over Pachinki. So if they find themselves on the opposite end of the split, they usually implement themselves.
The northwestern area of Pachinki going to be occupied. A lot of buffer zone in between these two teams to sort of safely loot, but as they continue to work their way in towards the center parts of Pachinki, well, you might see those clashes start to happen as the kill feed starts to light up. It's going to be Team Error finding some nice knocks.
And a flush.
And a flush.
On to Error, so they're already going to be playing with 1 man down. Going to clear that one out is... It's going to be extremely unfortunate for Error, a team that is middle of the pack right now, but they definitely want to put a more definitive position into their seeding that they'd be able to avoid completely that danger zone in the bottom 8.
Blue Zone is about to start working its way in, though, towards phase number 1 right now. And if these teams haven't thought about it already outside of the zone, well, they're certainly going to have to start implementing the strategies that they brought into week number 2 of the group stages as Ignite Gold starts to disengage. They're at least wrapping their way around the northern side from west to east here in Pachinki, avoiding entirely any of the members of Unnamed so far. But as we continue to see them make this rotation, they are starting to become more aware of their surroundings. They're starting to play a little bit more passively than they had at the onset of this game from the drop.
I'm surprised no one's gone and absolutely raided Jasnaya yet. VM1 seem to be circling it, but they've not actually collapsed into it entirely, and no one else has really gone over to that area, so that still is in circle. We could see phase 2 move even further over there as well. That's going to be a hotbed of untapped potential for some teams who may have struggled in the early stages to find that loot.
Popping over here to North Georgia Pole, looking at one of our teams that has to make a rotation, albeit small, still a rotation, and we know that rotations, no matter how far they have to be, can be extremely deadly for any team, no matter how skilled. Method, though, continuing, though, to work their way through this northern Georgia Pole spot. They've got vehicles to their name. I don't see any difficulty for Method at least making this rotation into Phase 1. If they try to vie for a more centralized area, though, inside of Phase 1, that's when you might see some conflicts arise.
And speaking of conflicts, we're looking at looking down onto the military island. AreYouScared very close to some members of Team Totality, and it's that two-man squad is. The rest of Misfits are actually going to start making that rotation off the island, or at least heading further east towards the bridge to get off there, knowing that they have to head up towards that circle. And they're going to completely bypass AreYouScared and Team Totality when they're doing this. And taking that eastern bridge is a lot less congested than what's happening in the west right now, because you've got NorthAmerica F6, Team Totality, Ignite Gold, and Unnamed all in that area just to the northeast of the bridge, and on the closest path to getting into that Phase 1 circle.
I'm curious to see what location Misfits has their eyes set on. Where in the circle are they going to be bombing? Are they going to stick to this centralized theme, or are they going to play it a little bit differently? Again, they don't necessarily have the pressure that every other team essentially in this lobby has of trying to avoid being in those bottom 8 positions. They've got such a crazy point lead on the rest of the lobby that they could play a little bit riskier than they have in the past. But again, we haven't seen these big shifts of gameplay for the Misfits. They continue to play strong, strong, strong. Nothing is stopping them just yet.
They will eventually find a place to call their home. Central positions are being occupied by Shoguns and Polar Ace Esports. I believe G60 are taking an engagement, or at least trying to take some shots at the rest of Team Error, as they're on opposite sides of the river over by Church and Ruins. But Yayo taking some shots at Reptar and Swift, or at least eyeing them up. Doesn't pull the trigger on this one, and will let them pass, much to the detriment of their kill points, as Reptar nearly being ran over by his own teammate there. Needs to be a little bit careful. You don't want to be committing some fratricide while you're also looking to climb the leaderboards.
Thankfully for Lushy here of G6, he's spread off from his other 3 teammates on that bit of an island just to his south, but it is wide open territory. If any of the members of Air try to push down and aggressively play this, well, Yayo and the rest of the crew will be there to capitalize on this opportunity. As Reptar and the rest of the crew of Air spot out those members of G6 off in the distance, they have no idea that Lushy is at the base of this hill just off of that riverbed, lying in wait. The trap is set. Will any of the members of Air fall for it?
Surely they don't take the bait. They don't want to be pushing into G6 here. They're both in the zone. Wait till the next phase comes by and see what you can do. You've actually got Method looping up behind you as well, or at least going past you. Don't want to be popping off shots and alerting them to your presence, because you could just get third-partied then if Method decide they want to take a fight instead of going for an advantageous position. F2 being knocked down there by Polar Ace, who are in that very central position right now. So there's an engagement happening over there as Barber and Happy and the rest of the boys trying to hide up behind this rock and fight away the aggression of Polar Ace, who are inside a safety of a building.
Yeah, but NA F6 also has the benefit of the hillside. The Defilade coming in strong here, at least protecting them with some cover from this compound. But the SLR shots continue to ring out. Polar Ace playing this fairly aggressively in the damage, the pressure that's being applied from this compound. But this hill can be detrimental to them. Over here, though, it's going to be G6, Alushi, aggressed upon. Hot Jukes and the rest of Air have flown down that hill. They've soared in his direction, and they've capitalized on that lone member of G6, separated off of his other 3 teammates. But the question remains, what will those members of G6 do? They're stuck on that island. Will they decide to combat the likes of Air?
And the circle is collapsing even further to the east, just southwest of Yasnaya is where they're going to end up. Oswey taking a few shots at Team Error, so G60 keeping the pressure on this team and keeping them out of this next circle. They are playing gatekeeper to this movement as Oswey and the rest of G60 jump into the river to get themselves to the safety of the main land and move closer to that newly formed phase circle.
And Phase 2 stays on this trend that we have set, at least for day number 5 of the group stages. Over to the east, we continue to go. But a thing to pick out from this circle, Phase 2, is the fact that the river leading out of Yasnaya is still in play. It could be implicated as we continue on, or we might shift away from it entirely. But it's something that the viewers, you at home, need to be aware of, and certainly the teams here in this lobby are aware of and are already prepping for, as Misfits. Burkasot's going to be spotting out the likes of NAF6, making that rotation through the wide open fields just south of Yasnaya, Polyana, a dangerous area to be making that transition. But it looks like 3 of the members, the 3 remaining members of an AF6, have found safety in the home of those yellow shacks.
Strategy seems to remain the same for Misfits. Get the center of the circle, lock it down, and
shoot everything in sight.
Shoot everything that comes anywhere near you. If even a leaf twitches in a tree, they take a shot at it. And so Misfits just going to be keeping their eyes on NorthAmerica F6. It's the only opponents they need to worry about for now. F6 have secured a care package for themselves. That's why they crashed into that particular compound. Its proximity to the drop, hopefully paying them dividends in the long run. AreYouScared actually taking an engagement. They crashed into that building as well. F6 under a lot of pressure here now. AreYouScared are inside the cover of the building, so they're safe from Misfits fire, but they want to breach through to these other buildings and take care of NorthAmerica F6.
NAF6 wiped the sweat off their brow when they crashed into these yellows thinking they were safe, but in comes another team. AreYouScared are essentially going to be screaming this in all chat comms right now to NAF6 as the barrage of grenades starts flying from east to west, trying to find their marks, but also apply the pressure, trying to instill the fear of God in the other team, sharing these yellow shacks in this wide open area. Disengaging off of this Trid is going to be damn near impossible, especially with Misfits looking down.
They're just applying so much pressure, dust being in the area. AreYouScared move closer to finding the Rapscallions of NorthAmerica F6. They just open the door, get a spray down through the window. Barber trying to find an alternative angle to protect for him and his teammate. Spray down's there, but he pops up from behind the door to find Mighty. And now Jay is on TJ Tattoo to try and take down Barber. We'll get the knock onto him, but now has to take cover from Misfits, Rain of Fire. Trying to find the flushes after the knocks, but NorthAmerica F6 finally going to be removed by AreYouScared, and the damage they took from Misfits was minimal under the circumstances.
Taking damage from Misfits, but I think the huge gain for Misfits is the information that a squad has been wiped out here and that you got another team hurting, but Unnamed is going to be hurting as well. Trades going back and forth between both of these squads. Ignite Gold is trying to do whatever they can to push off the oncoming slaughter that Miski and Bill and the rest of the crew are trying to lay down up the hill.
Keeping his eyes on Wasson. It's going to be Miski applying most of the pressure here with the gunfire as they're trying to buy some time to get Raven back in the game, and the smoke's going to come out to guarantee that now as the rest of Unnamed fall back. Now Wasson is tanking the blue. They're going to have to move up on Unnamed. They're just going to pop all the stims they can. He's taking fire from the tree. He can't let up for a second as Bill pushes out to a wider angle, trying to apply that pressure from behind that cover as they all try and head into the circle themselves, get a safer position to be able to fight back the aggression coming out from IGN.
And that's the thing. If Unnamed does not stop the members of Ignite Gold from pushing into the zone like two of them already have, well, they're going to become gate-kept, and it's going to become exponentially harder for them to continue on here in this game. But the battle has become a standstill. It's going to be a disengage fully chaos trying to wrap around these open fields of Pachinki to reunite with Kipe and Marvis, who are already inside of the safe zone, no longer taking any of that blue zone damage, and no pressure on their back as they continue to look back inside of the blue zone, trying to spot out the team that was previously pushing up onto them.
The fact that IGN were able to take the closer route forces Unnamed to take a longer rotation northbound to avoid this rain of fire they were going to run into from Creep and, of course, Marvis, who have already taken that more proactive position. So they have to move further away, tank the blue for longer, spend more of their resources to get into safety because that direct route was claimed proactively by Ignite Gold.
They're getting in the vehicle to start to make that transition towards the next phase, which has popped. And let's take a look at where we're going to be going. Phase number 3, the setting. Trid, you called it. Chat called Trid the Circle Whisperer because we're going up to Yasnaya Polyana, a city that was once empty, is now finding itself inhabited by many different teams, and that's not going to change. Everyone is going to have their sights on this centralized city, and again, that sort of sets up an interesting storyline. Will we see a shift off of the city as we progress through the game, and then teams have to fight from what was once a safe harbor for them?
If I'm Team Aero and I'm playing for placement, I stay on the north side of the river. You've got G60 coming up there, but you should be able to deal with a team like G60 on this one, as VN1 is eyeing up Wildcard as Misfits do what Misfits do best and start killing Latinos Undios. Getting a couple of kills in that Yasnaya melting pot that's occurred. There's VN1 being opened up on by Wildcard. One not going down onto Ran as Zeus keeps the sight lines open, looking for where the reinforcements are coming from. He hears the footsteps on the outside, wants to press onto this one. You can see that Key is going down to help him, but he's locked down here. He can't jump out and push this to go for the flush, because if he does, he's exposing himself to the aggression of VN1.
And that's one of the difficulties of this Yasnaya area. When you have teams so close together, no one wants to push out into the open to capitalize on these knocks. You're left to just whittle away at your utility in the form of frag grenades to try to secure those kills. VN1 is
he got it!
And he gets the knock again. Ran was quickly rezzed, and then quickly thereafter dropped back down once again.
Will this second hit
follow up through the door frame, trying to find the connection, but the door has been closed. It doesn't look like it's going to land its mark, and Ran will be rezzed again, but will this be the final time that he's rezzed? Certainly Wildcard is trying to say no.
Kobe for accuracy, just straight through there in the window, able to find that. Lucas holding very close to Wildcard, stops their aggression. He's the point man to deflect or riposte the attack that may come out of Wildcards. He's just keeping them under wraps by moving around and changing the angle on this building to keep them in there. Rand's finally going to get meted back into the game. So they will keep their 4-man squad in this one. His key's up there. Looking for the grenade onto Ranger.
Oh!
There's the yeet, and it bounces off the top. That was perfect sightlines for Key. And it's just unfortunate because now Illusions has changed the position. He's still going to go for it, throw the grenade in the window, see if he finds anything, but Illusions is too far away to get anything done.
A few seconds late, a few degrees short, and that could have been so much different for Kui and so much different for Wildcard, who still has 4 alive. Illusions, though, in the stairwell. He's looking outside of the window that connects in that area of the apartment. Might be able to spawn out the head of Kui from VN1 as many more teams start to enter into this Yasnaya area. Phase number 4, it did pop. It shrunk directly on top of Yasnaya, so more and more teams going to come into this area. It's going to become jam-packed, and by virtue of so much cover trade, we're going to see a lot of teams survive almost more than we're used to into the mid to late game.
Southeast Yasnaya is where most of the teams are congregating right now, right on top of the center point of the circle. And you've got Latinos Undios just in the corner of your screens there. They're close to that center area, but they're also near Misfits Gaming, who have taken up refuge in that central position as Lucas is going on a solo mission right now to the other side of Yasnaya, potentially to provide that information. Unnamed Raven's going to get knocked here as Era's taking a fight with Unnamed. Will get the flush onto Raven. That's a kill sorely needed by Era to rack up even more points for them.
VN1 continues to play aggressively from these apartments. They've left the first story where they took so much damage, so much pressure from Wildcard, and well, they've climbed a few stories to get those lines of sight onto the western edges of Yasnaya. They spotted out Error over there as well as Unnamed, and this almost opens up a window of opportunity for G6 now to make that entryway from the north.
Osway's got eyes on uncontested against Polar Ace, lining up the shot, ready to take it. Just waiting for the right time and the information to turn around from JPP. He may see it straight out there for the knock. Beautifully done. They're going for the flush as quickly as possible, but the fire comes out from Polar Ace Esports. They're going to take this fight as they look to storm up the hill and keep their comrade alive. There's the flush onto Yayo. Osway is down, and Jakob, the only remaining member to defend his down corpse. As VN1 have got eyes on Polar Ace, they want a third party this as they press up the hill, but Dilly going to deal with Osway and back off. They don't know that Jakob is there, and they're conscientious of who's going to third party this, but Key keeping eyes on Dilly. He steps out from the trees, opening into the firing lines of VN1. They're playing around the cover, and they're going to deny Key these extra kills.
I think a bit of a misplay there from G6 to take the shots a little bit early. You saw that player waiting on behalf of G6 to pop off on Polar Ace Esports. He was waiting for his other teammates to come and support him from up the hill, but it was a little bit too late. And that's going to be all she wrote as Error, Hot Jukes, and the rest of the crew come in off of that western flank and end G6's run here in game number 3.
It's unfortunate for them. They will go out in 14th place as Bucky actually going to be knocked down by Misfits, who have been unusually quiet in this Yasnaya circle, but they're starting to make their presence known on the kill feed as Revo going to actually get that flush onto Bucky. So that's unfortunate for VN1, a solo operator being picked off as the rest of the squad takes refuge in these apartments quite close to Polar Ace Esports. But his method, applying pressure onto Yoda, who's playing edge on that circle but has to start running. Not able to land those shots. That's quite unfortunate because that's a perfect opportunity to start getting some knocks and potentially put a lethal blow or a mortal wound into a contending squad.
Well, it's likely that Method will have another opportunity, being that they are Shoguns rather are so far down to the southwest in the wide open fields, and now that phase number 5 has popped and it continues to centralize itself on Yasnaya Poyana, well, Shoguns have to move, and they got to move directly into multiple forces, not just Method that's going to be on their radar. Ignite Gold on the southern end of the circle, holding onto these apartment buildings. They're going to have insane lines of sight down to the south, and it's not just Shoguns that has to worry about this. AreYouScared all the way down to the south across the wide open fields they have to go, as everyone is starting to make these repositions, trying to find a building maybe 30 meters off in the distance that's a little bit more favorable. But with every step they take, they risk their team going out early on here.
Hot Jukes, who's taken over the IGL responsibilities today, also leading his team in kills, 2 to his name of the 4 total that is possessed by Team Error. As they're on the northwest boundary of this newly formed phase, the immediate opponent in front of them is Unnamed, so you need to be cautious of that. We're now on board with Misfits Acer, one of the top fraggers in Group A, keeping an eye out and changing positions around. Multiple buildings occupied by Misfits to increase the range of control they have, as Unnamed will get that knock onto Hot Jukes, and Wildcard Illusions Keeping the shots ready to go, but it's alerted Key, who's now going to change position to potentially contend in range. Just keeping an eye on it with the grenade. If he sees Key up there, he's throwing that grenade up there.
Swift and the rest of Air will be rolling up to the priority buildings on the backside where Unnamed is currently holding, but they're hearing this onslaught of grenades approaching from their northern flank, and will Bill, Miski, and the rest of the crew will be lying in wait, trying to utilize these windows to get some peeks onto the members of Air that certainly are moving their direction. But in Yasnaya, a lot of teams are starting to get dangerously close to one another. You can see off in the distance how those name tags are starting to overlap, and well, that's going to create an action-packed mid to late game here in game number 3, with just 13 teams remaining and 41 players alive as we pass the 20-minute mark of the game.
Error is right on top of Unnamed, who in a two-man situation right now. They've lost 2 of their members already, so it's 2v4 in favor of Team Error. If they go for the push on that, they should be able to raid them in that building, breach into it, and take control of another property. As Uneven still on the prone, eyeing it up as Jibe going to try and reflect the attack of Shoguns. They could rush through the door here, but it might be to their own detriment. Charging up the grenade, ready to throw that back to repel the attack. The pin's been popped. They must have heard it.
This'll be
He's
huge.
cooking it up. He throws it out. Will get blocked himself. Won't find anything in return, and now Shoguns can clean him up.
And this is Jibe from Method, who had the lines of sight on Shogun when they were down to the south in the wide open fields. Had Method capitalized on that, well, Shoguns would not be pushing up onto this building and getting a knock and a flush on one of the members of Method, leaving them with 3 to contend for a top finish here in this game. 40 players alive, though, and Shoguns have now secured a dominant hold on this western side of the circle. The apartments will give you the highest line of sight that you can work off of in this circle, but
I
it quickly
hate to
changes.
be the wet blanket here, Esquire, but look where the circle's just formed, all the way over to the east. Oh, well done getting control of those apartments, but they're worth nothing at this point. You now have to rotate through all these teams to get to relative safety.
As many other teams start to realize that, trying to make their way from west to east, you hear these shots pop off because so many teams are becoming vulnerable in these wide open alleyways that maze their way through this Yasnaya Poyana area. VN1's Ran going to be trying to spray down on top of Wildcard. Damage being applied, but it's over here. Team Error being aggressed upon by Unnamed. They found themselves now in the flip side position, and while they're taking casualties, Hot Chooks is going to be dead. Lewis is going to be bleeding out, and Reptar dropped down to 10% HP. A few shots, a few grenades of pressure could dangerously end the members of Air.
That was a 2v4 scenario, and basically you just saw Unnamed run in there. Bill did ultimately go down, so it's just Miski flying the flag for them right now, as Revo actually being encircled by the rest of Team Wildcard, as their colleagues are going to go down as well, as AreYouScared finds Mateus. Here's the spray down from Pride. Can't deflect the attack from Shogun, so that Shogun's gunning for blood against Method. Hang on a minute, though. That's going to be a player going down. Steamy fighting against them, holding them back, but the angle was found by Dex. I believe there's one member of Method left, and it's going to be Everfury. He might have to spray down Dex. He enters into the house, goes for the spray down. Spraying at the hit, but no, Dex is there with the true aim, with the hip fire. We'll go ahead and secure the complete Method wipe.
Big pickup for Shoguns right there, but they've got to do something quickly because a lot of attention has been drawn their direction on the west-hand side of things. As you see the kill feed continue to light up. AreYouScared going to be dropping down. BN1 engaged with Air. Home Alone going to be engaged with Totality, as every team is clashing here in Yasnaya. It's a battle for the city, and only one team can reign victorious over the rest and say that we own this city. We are the kings of Yasnaya, but no one is close enough to claim it just yet, as Wildcard continues to look on. Home Alone off there in the police station, the far eastern edge of Yasnaya. And this is almost impactful here. The crate dropping in the field, although it will certainly, yes, it does have a powerful gun inside of it, but it also creates some artificial cover now that teams can play off of should the circle take us there.
Grenade going in from Ace. Look how spread out Misfits are and how much control they're able to exert over this center position. You're ready to throw the grenade at Insane. PWin holding awfully close, and he's giving away his position. Ace knows where he needs to look now. He's cooking up that grenade. Might go for the fast pivot. Taking too many shots, though. Has to play it safe right now. He's taking too much damage. PWin getting shot from behind. Ignite Gold crashing and third partying into this engagement. Going to escape down low, pop the first aid kit, but he has to keep down, and there's the flanking position coming out. Acer will find PWin while he's under pressure. Galaxy going to throw out a grenade to try and force him back and potentially go for the res. As Acer going to go back to safety. This Ignite Gold exerting all that pressure onto Home Alone as well. It's Uneven. Going to find that knock onto Ignite Gold as well. So rather than them third partying the fight, Misfits turn it around onto them. Heads up play, able to get a couple more kills under their belt.
Phase number 6 has popped. Phase number 5, you can see where it previously was. The fields in the northeast were wide open. No team wanted to opt in to going into that risky area of the map, and by virtue of that, well, it's become even more crowded inside of the city. The next circle is up. It's in the far northwestern side of our previous circle, and well, so teams down to the south, specifically Home Alone, Ignite, and Misfits, have to start making that trek, and you can already see the migration of team number 8. Keep your eyes on them. That's going to be Misfits rolling up.
They're close enough to the circle because they were that spread out, but they do need to get in after they healed up. Cobra actually getting a headshot knocked onto Pyra, and Dilly's going to turn it around onto him after exposing himself, but he will get knocked by Ranger. So that engagement, a three-way strike happening as Percocet now taking out IGN Wasson, who will get the kill taken away from him by Ace Esports Pro DJ. So another kill still coming in to boost them up the rankings. Misfits will recover, throw out some smokes, head past that crate. P-Win's off to the side, needs to be sprayed down here. Good knock coming in from Percocet. They're taking cover from multiple teams right now. Galaxy going around on the flank. Might want to play spoiler onto Percocet and Misfits. He needs to hold this angle. He can't be too rash here as Misfits know roughly where he's going to come from. They're going to go for the flush on the P-Win. Now a solo operator for Home Alone, and it's Galaxy.
Misfits now going to be popping into the vehicles. Pyra sprayed down by Galaxy, who heard the departure heading his direction. He's got the US to work with, but now Pyra, the rest of Misfits, going to be taking a lot of fire. Knocked out of the vehicle. It's just going to be one player of Misfits. Acer left alive. He's going to be trying to at least stay down, trying to hide from any onslaught, but it's going to be Home Alone from the backside that ends up finding even more knocks and flush onto your top team here in the North American lobby. Ranger, though, from Wildcard, continues to put on an onslaught from these apartments, finding frag after frag after frag. Well, they've got 3 to their name. They've certainly had a lot more knocks than that, just not able to capitalize on it by virtue of this zone.
It's the Wild West over there on the far end of the circle. Acer, Chaos, and Howl Galaxy, or Home Alone Galaxy, and Dilly as well. All solo operators. You've still got Revo and Key hiding underneath Wildcard Gaming inside of that property. So it could play spoiler as soon as Wildcard try and vacate the premises. Chaos takes the shot, will deal with Acer, knocking Misfits out. A lot of fire coming into him after he alerts his position.
Trid, there is only one team with more than one member alive. It's Wildcard. They've got a 4-stack. Every other team left in this lobby, 5 other teams to be exact, are solo players. How will Wildcard be able to navigate this? Because certainly it's going to be harder to spot out these solo players with so many team presences still remaining, as Dilly, Ace Esports, he's pretty much stuck here inside of this building, blue zone on his back. It will chunk him down if he tries to make the escape, and it's going to be a few seconds that he has to do it. He is certainly going to be trying to pop out some smokes, get the concealment to bank off of, and then pray to God that he is able to safely pull through this blue zone without taking too much damage in the process.
Throwing out as many smokes as he can. He has to reposition because the circle is just going to land straight on top of Wildcard Gaming. So all these solo operators on the south side need to press through. That's exactly what Dilly's going to do now as he presses up. Galaxy off to his right-hand side, but he's looking up the hill. There you go. I think he spotted it. That's why he's gone prone now. We'll try and play around these sightlines caused by the terrain so we can limit the angles of attack. Ranger's already spotted him out, though. Starts raining bullets upon him, keeping that pressure on as he turns elsewhere to look for the following members who are going to be following up the rear. But Chaos will die to the play zone. It means that there's one less solo operator to deal with. Galaxy off to the far side, pops a first aid kit, needs to stay down as much as possible because Ranger's still keeping an eye on that angle. Revo and Key underneath the building of Wildcard Game as he goes round as far as he can to try and find Galaxy or find someone else or safety to approach it. And Galaxy's got the best sightlines here. He has that small hut to obscure the vision from the apartment building, which Wildcard are using to exert pressure.
Dilly, although he's got the deflate to work off of, it's extremely countered by Wildcard's position. Up in the air in the apartment,
turns it around!
Spotting out Galaxy, takes him down and out. 3 teams now remaining. Dilly picks up his 5th kill here of the game. Certainly 4 was fine, but 5 is even better as he continues on here now, trying to get in to that 2nd place position. It's a 1v1 v4. Wildcard has a solo player on the 1st floor of their apartment building. It's essentially all on Ace as to trying to cross this wide open area. What is he going to be able to do here, Trade? Is he going to be able to pop some smokes and bridge that wide open area and get to cover?
Don't know if he'll be able to do that. While this is going on, VN1 took the initiative. Key went and cleared out Latinos Undios underneath there as well to make sure they throw it out. Here comes the smoke coming in, but Key's already been spotted out by Ranger. Going to go for the spray through the window. Half and half, both being knocked down. On the opposite side, the smoke's going to come out and obscure the vision. The spray coming in from Ranger will deal with Key adequately. Now it's a 4v1 scenario. They know there's only one player left. He's tanking blue to get to safety, and Wildcard Gaming are going to go on the offensive as they just rush the building. Dilly, you've got no hope in hell, son. That's going to be Wildcard Gaming picking up a win on Erangel, map number 3.
Solid first place chicken dinner coming in for them. 5 kills to their name, but 10 kills on the hands of Ace Esports. Dilly and his teammate Pro DJ really showed up right there, fragging out of their mind, at least able to pick up 32 points, 10 from kills, 22 points from placement, and then VN1 coming in third position with 5 kills. So all things considered, an incredibly solid game, and Misfits, you didn't see them in the top 5, dropped down to 7th place, but it wasn't easy for any team in Yasnaya.
As soon as the circle started to work away from them, that's when they had a little bit of difficulty. They had to make those rotation in the vehicles. As soon as they did, Wildcard had their number though. They had the sightlines perfectly lined up on them, sprayed down the vehicles, and with so many teams also coming from the same direction they got pincered in a situation they just couldn't handle. Acer, try as he may to survive and force out placement, was just unable to in this instance. 7th place under the circumstances though, still not the worst outcome.
No, it's pretty good for them. Guys, that is game 3 in the books. We've got one more game to round out day number 5 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. We'll be back with you with more PUBG action.
Zombie, Darkest Night, the newest mode in the zombie universe, is here. This time, the rules are different. No more parachuting, as players will be placed at random locations on the map when the match begins, and there is no single winner. Players must work with their teammates to spend one long night in the match and stay alive until the sun comes up. Waves and waves of zombies will spawn during each of the 3 foggy periods at night, and supplies should only be scavenged when the fog fades. The main objective is not to defeat other players, though this doesn't mean they are harmless. Players may need to work with other teams when necessary, but should also watch their backs in case the Fragile Alliance goes south. This will be a unique experience for every player involved. This new mode also comes with a passive skill for every player. Understanding these skills will be the key to staying alive in this long night. Can you ride out the night?
Welcome back, everyone, to the PUBG Mobile Club Open. My name is Esquire, joined here by Trid. We just put game number 3 in the books. We've got one more game to go here for day number 5, and Trid, Wildcard, they're making a run for that triple win in one day to match the record that Misfits set in week number 1.
Absolutely possible for them. Sheer dominance on that final Erangel map. Like we said, when it got down to the last circle, they were the only complete squad, and we had a bunch of solo operators in the area for them to pick up. Some nice grenade work coming out from Zeus here, catching Ran on the back end of this. Now, that was Key, the person trying to res him there. That was the last remaining member for the N1, hiding in that building, roughly in the same area of Yasnaya, to keep their dreams alive in their run so far. And BN1 Key not having the best of times there. Could have got the knock onto Ranger, but that unfortunate grenade just blows up in his face, quite literally.
Hate to see it. Another thing that blew up in someone's face, well, it's going to be G6 trying to pop up on Polar Ace. You saw Ozwy. He was trying to wait until his teammates were there to provide that crossfire, but it was a little bit too early, and well, Ace just makes quick work of the members of G6 right up the hill from them. That's going to be a squad wipe coming out, and sort of just the tone of this game. It was really action-packed for the entirety of the mid to late game here in Yasnaya.
Yeah, having a Yasnaya circle, providing all the cover of these buildings, and when they slowly get whittled down by the next circles, it just creates some instances where there's a lot of action happening all at once. And so they will recover from this one. Someone who was going to recover is Jakob. You can see he's already been spotted out by Team Air. He gets up and sprints for it, but it's already too late. He's the last remaining member after that engagement with Polar Ace Esports. He's just taken out by Hot Jukes. With that rifle, it's easy to pick him off from distance.
Certainly Misfits, as well as Method, having some interesting games. You saw G-Bay aggressed upon by the Shoguns, who he was previously looking down the sights of his own rifle at in those wide open fields. Tries to get that last-ditch nade out through the door. It was a great effort, but unfortunately not enough against those 3 members of Shoguns lining up their rifles in the hallway.
It's just super unfortunate for him, because Method had Shoguns in their sights when they were rotating across that open field, and their inability to secure any knocks or any flushes from that as well just meant that it came back to bite them, and ultimately it was Shoguns to just end their reign after they went and cleaned up the rest of Method after that all went wrong for them. This is the kind of getting into the final moments of the game here. That's really an engagement that Galaxy should have been able to win. He had everything going for him there, but Dilly just dancing around him, able to finish him off. And Key, we've already spoken, last remaining member for the N1, and it's just Ranger to take this engagement on the window, finds that brief portion, the brief pixel of his bicep to shoot at and clear out this player. And he was the solo operator, so he just goes down entirely.
Yeah, final moments here of game number 3 as Dilly from Polar A is going to be spotted out. Wildcard, a full 4-man swarm, and well, the deck was stacked not in favor of the members of Polar Ace Esports. Wildcard with a huge victory leading into the final game, not just of the day Trid, but the final game of the group stages for these 2 groups. They're going to have played 12 games in total at the conclusion of today, and well, like you said it at the onset of today, they're going to have no more opportunities to climb into the leaderboards. It's going to be that sweaty Sunday for them to sit back and pray and hope that they stay in the top 24 positions.
I think even prayers and hopes Misfits aren't going to save home alone now. I'm going to go out and say here, they won't be joining us in the semi-finals. There's too much of a score deficit to catch up, considering that a lot of these teams are still sitting on 8 points. They're going to be able to climb 8 matches. They're still going to be able to climb themselves. Same for Totality. They might be able to save themselves if they have a fantastic game here in our final map of the day to get into this section of the leaderboard. It's still not looking great for them because you can't lose points. You can only gain them. So you need to be able to climb and try and dethrone a couple of these teams and hope they have a bad day tomorrow.
You certainly can lose points, but we won't talk about that in depth as we continue to climb up the leaderboards, though. We are looking through 17 through 24. Again, teams that aren't necessarily safe, that have to be a little bit aggressive here in these final games. You know, if you go out early, but you're on the cusp, it's certainly a risk that you had to take to try to propel yourself further and further up. But let's take a look at least at the top half of the leaderboards. Teams that are feeling at least pretty confident now going into game number 4.
Looking good for them. All the teams here that have been climbing today, Method, are getting an advantageous position. Same with G6, Ace Esports. They're more on maintenance. And Ignite Gold, they're looking okay for the time being, but it's really that top 8 I want to take a look at right now. See how that shapes up. Wildcard Gaming getting up into 2nd place. Look at the deficit between them and Misfits Gaming. There's still 82 points of difference between them, despite how dominant Wildcard Gaming has been today. And they got one last chance to show their dominance. We're going to jump straight into our final map of the day. Erangel up in the skies in that beautiful plane.
And here we go from the southwest corner, a little bit off of Ferry Pier in Primorsk, ending that plane's trajectory over near Severny. So the map is certainly going to be favored over towards the western side of things. Not too far off, though, to the west to cut off any of these teams trying to make that long parachute over towards the eastern coast, as we already are starting to see a few teams jump out early. No surprises here. They did it in the previous game. Latinos Undios going to be going down towards Primorsk, making sure no other teams are parachuting in that direction.
And Misfits, they went for Military Island last time, and they're flying in the plane still, so I don't think they're going to go for it this time around. 2 teams that did last time that were repeating the same are AreYouScared and Team Totality. They're also going for that 3-1 split where they send Richie off onto the mainland. Like we already mentioned, the squad to potentially keep an eye on that western bridge, their escape avenue, to make sure it's not camped by a team that wants to gatekeep them out of a potentially lethal circle.
So final game for these 2 groups here. This is going to be A and D's 12th game played throughout the group stages. Again, keep an eye on some of these teams that are in that danger zone that have to put up massive numbers. Totality, they have to play risky. ImYourEnemy, you know, they didn't show up today. They can't do anything on the leaderboards. But speaking of Totality, continue to watch them. Is dropping on Sanhok Island necessarily the best option for them in terms of them needing to get high placement, but also combo that with the kills?
Look at the circle. That tells you that Sanhok Island maybe not going to be the best play. Over to the east, and it's going to be occupying mainland Erangel. So all those teams who went west, you're going to have a bit of a timer on your looting spree. Method also going up to Georgia Pole like they did last time. Misfits look like they're actually taking South Georgia Hospital area away, or prison area, sorry, away from Home Alone and Team Error. They're already opening up onto Home Alone and trading fire right from the off of this match.
I mean, listen, Trid, if you're in this lobby, if you're in groups A or D and you're still dropping on the west-hand side of these maps, whether it be Erangel, Vikendi, or Sanhok, well, you're doing it wrong because these circles have been east all night long, and some teams are going to have some extra long rotations to make from west to east to get to safety. But we still have a conflict back at Pachinki. We saw it in our previous game of Erangel. Ignite Gold versus Unnamed, and they have split off, at least different areas being held, a south versus north battle rather, that will rage on here as these teams try to claw at whatever points are left in the lobby.
No one definitively planted their flag in Pachinki in their last engagement. They split the map and were able to just disengage off of each other. Unnamed maybe want a more definitive position or definitive performance because they might be sharing subsequent groups with Ignite Gold, because I think both of these teams are in a good position to go through to our semifinals next week. So unless they stake a definitive claim and get one of these teams to back off, they may have to split the loot in Pachinki nearly every single time they play in future rounds.
And at what point do you set pride aside for better placement, saying, hey, we are not just a Pachinki team, we are a PUBG mobile team. We can play off any area of the map, regardless of the force that you are going to be trying to put up against us. But one car has been secured. This is a thing, certainly an important thing to note with these Pachinki teams. Not a lot of vehicles in this area, and with the rotations that have to be made, albeit short from the Pachinki area, the centralized positions in phase number 1 are going to be the coveted spots, especially by Ignite Gold.
They're all going to mount up and they're going to leave Pachinki, so I'm guessing flag planted by Unnamed, as they're just going to be the remainers in Pachinki. See what else they can get as
you got to take these 2
greener pastures.
I mean, come on, Ignite. You got to take these cars away. You got to leave Unnamed in the worst position that they could be in as Totality spots out one of the members of AreYouScared Cow, caught between the rock. Not going to have a lot of room to work off of if he tries to disengage. Maybe calling in his teammates. I don't know if this is going to be the best call for this squad, but certainly they are headed his direction. As we see on the minimap, team number 15 starting to trickle down from the north.
The Cal's going to go to retreat, try and meet them halfway, make sure the burden's not fully on them. And Mighty also trying to follow him up there. He was lingering around as well as Dodger trying to get eyes on, maybe see what's going on. It's Mighty on the bike. Gonna dodge out the fire. Cal trying to jump on the back just to get him out there extremely fast. And they're going to do just that. AreYouScared able to disengage from that quite handedly.
Cal going to be spraying with that Tommy gun off the back of the bike, just asserting his dominance. This is one of the things that we talk about. I mean, you can make noise, you got to do whatever you can to instill that fear, but Home Alone is going to be under fire. Reptar from Team Air with the Mini 14 shots. Not a lot of ammo, only a few rounds left in there as he pops the reload and refills that magazine with 20 rounds of 5.56, and the members of Team Air continue on here. They've got all three alive, actually. They lost Swift very early on. And this is a team that you want to see some big plays out of. Hot Jukes came into the night saying, guys, I'm IGLing for my team. You want to see some big things coming out of these players.
They're just taking away the containers in South George, all to themselves. They got Misfits on their rear when they start pressing into the circle method across the way in North Georgia Pole, and they've got Team Arrow right in front of them. They're not in the best of positions. They're looking to make an easy rotation into this next circle. We're on board with Wildcard. They basically got Mill to Power all to themselves. That southeast portion of the main circle, as well as the main island of Erangel. All theirs right now. Is AreYouScared are mounting up. I think they're either going to crash onto the rest of Totality or potentially start going into Milter and Farm area across the bridge. But they're lingering around the area. I think they realize that they might have a favorable numbers advantage over Totality as they press into them, because Lord Fudo and Dodger are actually in the main base area of that military island. But just off to the east, there's too many members of AreYouScared potentially looking for an engagement against a solo player.
On your screen, though, Wildcard, your top team, at least one of the top contenders for this lobby. I mean, Wildcard is going for that three-peat. They're trying to get 3 out of the 4 victories here in the final game of the group stages, at least for groups A and D. One more day to be played out tomorrow, so make sure to come back with us. And if you missed any of the action, pop over to clubopen.pubgmobile.com. Find the rules of the tournament, the standings, as well as some VODs and replays of some of the critical moments that have happened so far over the last 2 weeks. But down here in Novo, Totality is going to be at least feeling a little bit of pressure coming off of that western flank.
His saving grace may be the nautical invention that pioneered so many years of development around the world. He's going to be able to jump into that boat and get away. AreYouScared had him in their jaws, and they just let him go. Triggs is going to sail off into the sunset and hopefully get away scot-free from what should have been a lethal situation.
Blue Zone moving in about a third of the way through its transition towards phase number 1 as AreYouScared continue to try to get a handle on their surroundings. Triggs going to be hurt in the boat. No lines of sight for Shiyu right now, but he's going to be trying to get above this hill, trying to get that elevated high ground to get those lines of sight, but not able to do so. And that's going to be a disengage. All things considered, not terrible for AreYouScared, letting Totality get away like that. Popping over to Shoguns, though, also making that transition, trying to center up. They're a little bit northwest of Shelter right now in this position. A lot of wide open area surrounding this compound they're taking up in. And in this compound in particular, will a lot of rotation paths happen to cross through this wide open area that's so notoriously known for massive, massive kills. Lushy continuing to try to get these lines of sight, just picking up some information as we pop over to the members of Misfits. Pyra, to be exact, he's got the UAS and he's going to be driving through the blue. This is a shift off of what we've seen the members of Misfits do in the past. I think this might be one of the first times, if ever, that we've seen them in the blue zone. So again, they don't need to play this game any certain way. They can make these shifts, they can make these deviations off of their tried and true strategy because, hey, they are sitting pretty at the top of the leaderboards, and you can run into trees, Pyra. No one's watching you right now. Don't even worry about it. No, 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 no. Clip it, chat. We saw it. Everyone saw it. Misfits, even the best can make mistakes, Trid.
They're working their way in. The rest of the Misfits just got out of that blue zone. They're a little bit ahead of Pyro, about to go into the circle. Also potentially running into Unnamed if they're not too careful, because they've got that position just southwest of school locked down on the path of ingress. So they may run into a bit of fire if they're not too careful, but we're on board with Ace JBP. Central position in the circle. Sin lining up potentially to take the shots, but he gives up. He knows they're too far away. They're too mobile. He won't land that from there. Conserve the ammunition, conserve the information, and keep working your way more central.
Next phase has popped. We'll be taking us over further east, a little bit favored off towards the northern side of our previous circle centrality. But it's going to be Unnamed, trying to reunite with their teammates, all four stacked alive here on the southwestern side off of phase number 1 before this. But they have to move a wide open area to cross a lot of ground to cover, and with no vehicles in sight, well, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them. I think they've actually found a vehicle on the northern side of Pachinki, and this could be very beneficial in terms of them making it over to the east safely, as many teams are doing exactly the same. You see the great migration, not just from the west rather, but all the way down to the south. Totality has moved off of Novo. They're holding onto the bridge, and this could serve problematic for AreYouScared, who is also making that exact same rotation in the blue up to the north.
G6 pressing further into a more northern position. They were holding fairly central, but they're going to move. They actually got Dex in their sightlines right now, going across the way in the buggy. He's got someone, he's got a passenger in the vehicle, could take some shots. They just clear this terrain and catch up with him. They're in hot pursuit right now. They don't want to let Dex get away. Spraying it down perfectly, trying to get some shots onto him. Dex takes a detour off the path that G6 want to take, and they will get the more direct line.
The more direct line is certainly going to be beneficial for them, but here it is. Shiyu going to be crossing the bridge. Totality lies in wait. The trap has been set, and it has been sprung. They have caught a member of AreYouScared out, and that's going to be a nice flush and kill secured going over to the way of Totality. But there are other members of this squad to have to deal with, and, well, they're not going to be shying away from battle anytime soon. Cal and his teammate have all pulled up. 3 members of AreYouScared are on the bridge. They're taking blue zone damage. That's significant to point out here, because Totality isn't pulling off of this. Totality needs these kills. They can't shy away from battle. Placement is not going to be enough to make them feel at least an inkling of safe tomorrow.
Just going to hold this position. Richie keeping his eyes on what's going on with the rest of AreYouScared. They are all tanking blue now, so there's a potential med and resource element to this. Cal and TJ Tattoo just playing this very slowly. Not going to rush into this engagement. I think they're trying to outweight Totality and see who's going to cave first. You can already see that 2 members are potentially rotating out here, but now Cal, TJ Tattoo, going to drive straight into this trap. The gunfire comes out immediately from Richie, who has to take cover. Triggs is up on the high ground. He's got a better advantage point over the cover that they're looking to take, and it's still going on. They're tanking the blue, so they need to be using meds whilst also healing each other up. Grenade getting ready to be thrown in. Triggs looking to get a good arc in here, throws it over the top, might find a good connection here, and it's going to find a knock on to Cal. It just leaves TJ Tattoo, and Triggs gonna clean house with the flush. Fantastic play from Totality, a team in desperate need of these additional points.
Certainly exactly what they had to do. You have to question, why did AreYouScared decide to fully commit to that drive in the wide open when they knew one of their teammates was lost, trying that exact same strategy a few seconds before it? But we have to pop over to the rest of the map. Action continues to start to set itself up as the members of Shogun are lining up just off of the mansion, where the members of Ace Esports have now taken shelter. As phase 2, it's about to pop into phase 3. A rotation might have to come out of this area, and, well, it could spell disaster for one of these 2 teams that has to disengage should the circle not favor them. And it does pop. It will be going all the way down to the south. You can see VN1 riding the northern side of phase number 3.
Yeah, this G60 who took that northern rotation, they went so far to the northeast that it's not paid off for them. In fact, they've given away a position they were holding down successfully. Now they're going to rotate back in as IGN just drops straight down on top of an opposing team, dealing quite handily with Team Error, who will go out, assuming that the rest of IGN can be rezzed by their teammate. They're going to get back in this game and stay alive.
About 80% of the lobby is currently favoring towards the northern side of phase number 3, which means it's going to be jam-packed. It's going to be a gauntlet should any team try to bomb through this essentially wall of resistance that has popped up around the mansion and woods area. You can already hear the action popping off. It is starting to line itself up as Latinos Undios is going to be at least riding along the eastern coast. They're not really in any type of fear of engagement, right? But they're also not inside of the zone. They've got to push in off of this northeastern sector, and there are already teams that are going to be lying in wait.
I love what VM1's done here. They made a beeline straight for the prison. We saw how pivotal that location's been in previous Group A matchups, well, Group B and C matchups, because remember what Spec did on Tempo Storm when he was able to get in that prison area. A lot of teams may be able to pull off a similar performance, assuming they get there early and lock it down, and the circle continues to move towards that area.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Locking yourself into prison right now would spell disaster for your team. It might be easy to get into prison, but it is hard as hell to get out of it, and the circle is not favoring it enough for any of these teams to fully commit. As you continue to watch, though, Shogun is lining up. They're trying to get some type of advantage onto the members of Polar Ace Esports. Killfeed lighting up. Other teams going to be in a little bit of desperate times trying to evade. It looks like Home Alone and Ignite Gold in a bit of a tussle, but Dex is not going to be pulling off of this. The members of Shogun, at least the members, 3 members in this area, want the kills. They want the positioning as well, but will we see the battle erupt? They don't have to move just yet. They're favored towards the north, and no other teams have encroached on their territory.
That's so unfortunate for Home Alone. They've gone out so early, I believe, in 13th place. This is one of the teams that was so desperate, but his tricks lighting up onto Key. He's got a good sightline on him, just can't find all the shots. Now Key can take cover, and the return fire immediately comes out for BN1 and makes Triggs back away from that high ground position. Richie's going to take his place. They've got VN1 absolutely surrounded on this cliff face.
A good position for Totality to be in, given the fact that they need even more kills. 4 is not going to do it, and Will shooting down into prison from those cliffs is like shooting fish in a barrel if you can actually find them and not give up those lines of sight down to your competitors below. But they are going to be rolling around here, trying to get different angles on the eastern cliffs of prison, maybe unexpected from the members of BN1. Rand, though, continuing to try to look along the hills, trying to get some information for his teammates, as Kui does exactly the same thing. He's trying to utilize this third-person perspective to try to spot out the members of Totality on the cliffside, but no signs just yet as to where they're rotating.
Happy keeping an eye on Latinos Undios. They're looking to press in from the circle. Playzone will claim Clonus, or at least knock him down, and the res is going to be so difficult to pull off here because the damage, you can already see how much it's doing to both of these members. Mateus going to pop the smoke, apply some bandages to potentially go for the res, but Clonus is dying too soon. Unless he gets there fast enough, he already takes more damage. He might be able to get the res off, but I think the blue zone will just claim his life anyway. NorthAmerica F6, they've done enough to knock Latinos Unidos out of this game.
Huge misplay from Latinos Unidos. Sometimes you just have to wash your hands of a fallen comrade and continue inside of the circle. Mateos will be looting, though, rather dropping some loot, it seems, exchanging a little bit before he makes his way inside of the safe zone. Chacho going to be going down as well. It's 1 member left alive for Latinos Unidos, and Matias has to get those meds rolling. You can see just how much damage the blue zone is starting to tick away from, and although it's not going to kill him, it's depleting his resources significantly as he tries to now be a solo player for a team that I'm not going to necessarily say expected a lot of greatness from today, but needed a lot of greatness.
Absolutely, and that was, unfortunately, Chacho getting that flush onto him, so it does confirm that they will be running with Mateus, the solo player, for the rest of it. Looking in terms of squads that are still at full strength, Ace, Polar Ace Esports, Misfits, I believe Method is still sitting at full strength for right now. That could change very quickly as the circle will continue to shrink. That prison location will be fine for VM1 for now, but they're going to have to rotate out quite quickly if they want to keep up with where the circle is actually moving to.
A lot of teams playing edge here. A bit of a shift off of our 3 previous games before this, where we saw so much importance by these teams placed on those centralized locations, especially Misfits, who are now seeing holding on to the western position. But here in the mansion area, the shots continue to ring back and forth over here to prison, though Totality is taking casualties. Another squad is rolled in, and this is what we feared with so many shots going off, so much action drawing teams to this area. Other teams that have to pick up kills or that want to try to climb those leaderboards as far as possible. Totality absolutely being ran through. I believe they are completely wiped out. Totality out in 12th position.
Not what they needed, does put them in the danger zone. It's going to be a very anxious Sunday for this team if they watch fate be taken out their hands. VN1 is Leather Prison Pride. Going to go for the kill confirmed onto Barber, and he'll find just that as Method taking this engagement from NorthAmerica F6. Ever Fury looking to chase down Handsome, who's up on this high ground behind the tree. But he's also got to worry about F2, who's at his back and dealing a lot of pressure to the remaining members of his team. Steamy is currently knocked and needs some help. Going to throw out that smoke to try and clear him out. That smoke landing perfectly on top of Stevie will provide that cover he needs to keep him alive and potentially get a res out here.
comes Matias as well. Latinos Undios is solo player off to the northwest of this current position. But F2, he's prepped and ready. He has been able to recover at least a 75 HP as he continues to look on. But off the side of the building, rather, it's going to be Clay. He spots out F2, but it's not quick enough. F2 sprays him down with the AKM and is quickly traded out thereafter by another member of Method who is coming in for the flush, able to secure it, and that's another kill going the way of Pride from Method.
What is going on? Hanson was able to deal with Steamy, get that flush confirmed, so they pick up some extra kills. But ultimately, Pride going to be able to take him out afterwards and get Everfury back in the game. Method lost 2 members off the back of that engagement that they just weren't able to clean up. They could lose more though. Shots are being fired against Pride. He has to take cover and leave Everfury there for now. Make him come to him, crawl over the ground to get into safety and get him back in the game.
Phase number 5 is popped. We're going to be going over towards the east. The play zone shrinks significantly, and no player, no team currently is inside of this phase. Method is going to be the closest squad there, off of the northeastern flank, just a few meters outside of where they need to be to get to safety. But here it comes. You expected it. Misfits are bombing into the circle. They're wasting no time to get there, and a lot of action going to be popping off here towards the north and likely the south as well, as a majority of our lobby is almost split 50-50, teams trying to make their way in.
Painkillers are being applied by Wildcards. They're looking to get and match Misfits' map win record on a single day. They're still in contention to do it with 4 members alive. There's Ranger taking a few shots. A couple of teams on the hills that need to be looked out for. As Ace Esports taking an engagement with Shoguns right now, trading a couple of knocks, but no kills just yet. This is a dangerous position for Wildcards to be in. They're lined up with a bunch of vehicles, and they're all kept into a shack. That's not a very fortified position to hold on to here.
Trid, if we don't see Misfits versus Wildcard here in a 4v4 engagement, first and second place on the line, the match win tie on the line, well, I'm going to be very upset.
I would feel robbed.
I would feel robbed as well, especially now that I've said it. Viewers at home, I'm sure you're going to be robbed also, but 9 teams remaining. Wildcard and Misfits are certainly 2 of those squads, but other 7 still trying to vie for this circle position. Method going to be disengaging off of this. Ignite Gold spotting out the Method retreat, as well as Latinos Undios wide in the open. Matias going to be connected on, and Marvis takes him down with a nice headshot from the M416.
Able to get that kill at distance. Great shot. Great shooting from Ignite Gold as they'll mount up into vehicles to get themselves into that circle. Here's Ranger taking 2 pop shots at Pride. Trying to find something. He's only going to apply pressure for now as they're smoked up in that confined area. G6 going up against Misfits. Nice shots from Percocet. Finds Rain. Gran will get the knock. It's uneven looking out elsewhere. They're relying on the cover created by their vehicles to operate in a similar position. As they're taking another engagement, it's going to be a knock and a flush onto Sin. Pride will get knocked down by Wildcard Gaming off on the other side as Pyro finds Ace Dilly. And again, finds Ace GBP. Just one more to get the complete flush and knock Polar Ace Esports out of this match. This is fantastic play for Misfits here, locking down the central position. And Pyro's going to go on the rush, hunting down Dilly, who's been knocked, and he will get himself the flush off the back end of that and keep dominant position for Misfits Gaming.
Yeah, Misfits holding one of the more advantageous positions inside of this based off of the terrain. They've got the dips, they've got the defilade to hide behind. VN1 going to be going down as well. Pyra spots him out with the SKS. Misfits, they had 0 kills coming into this position, but they've quickly picked up at least a handful to their name as VN1's Lucas spots out a member of Polar Ace Esports all the way to the north. It's going to be Shake, dropped down with a nice place Car 98 shot.
Fantastic from Lucas. He's survived by 2 members. They've only lost 1 so far, so they're still in this one. Zeus got his hands on a rifle as well, looking to get some long-range shots. The circle actually coming back towards Wildcard Gaming. So Misfits, they took a gamble on this position. It's not going to pay off. It paid them some kills, but look how early they want to rotate into this one. They're already mounting up to try and get a better position, but they're going to have to go past Method, G6, potentially AreYouScared and VN1. So now AreYouScared, just VN1 on this one to get into circle. Try and get advantageous, but Ran's already going against them. You know how this goes. You've already been knocked by Percocet. You want to do it again, Ran? What's wrong with you, man?
You're about to see Misfits pop off. They know that they've got to do something to whittle down the teams on the opposite sides of their flanks as they try to vie for a more centralized position inside of the circle, entering off of the northwest. Going to be under fire right now. Percocet's UAZ is taking a significant amount of damage, but he's able to crash it into the rock. His teammates crash in right behind. They've got the mobile to cover to work off of, and it's a good thing, too, because they are wide in the open on the northern side of phase number 6. Acer going to be throwing out grenades in every which direction, trying to to push back any team that will be approaching, and that's going to be G6, the target of that grenade, and Acer's popping off. Marv is going to be going down. Ignite Gold under extreme pressure off to the northeast under the hands of Misfits.
Yeah, some of them are still in the blue there. They're not going to be able to get back in. Acer will go for the resurrection, try and bring him back in. VM1 losing a couple of members. It's Unnamed taking out that squad and removing them from the field. In fact, just Miski, I believe, is the only remaining member for Unnamed right now, dealing that damage. Cobra firing up onto the hill from Wildcard Gaming, trying to deal with Method, who have a high ground advantage, but they have to aggress onto them, and it's unfortunate positioning as they're just going to play around mobile cover.
5 teams remaining. 3 of those 5 teams have all 4 players alive. Method has 2 players alive, and then Unnamed has a solo Trid. The matchup, the 4v4 engagement that I teased in the middle of this match might be lining up. At least we're getting closer and closer to possibly seeing that happen as Wildcard continues to hold on to a dominant position on the eastern side of phase number 6, continuing to look on. No one really spotting each other yet. A lot of defilade to be had by every single team to get the cover, but Method's going to be under fire. They lost 1 member already. Acer continuing to frag out with the mini 14 shots, ringing true for Method.
Method are the furthest team away from Misfits, and Misfits are the ones finding the kills. They already open up onto Zeus. I don't think you want to take this engagement just yet, my friend. Misfits know how to frag, they know how to control the circle, and you may want to try and take care of them early, but you've got other teams who may third party this engagement. It's going to require all of your attention as Zeus lining up the shot. Won't pull the trigger on that one. Goes for a shot onto Pyro. Won't find it. Has to drop down into prone as more smoke comes out to provide cover and cut off these sightlines. Uneven returning fire to relieve some pressure on this team and keep them at bay. Stop them aggressing onto Misfits' position.
Phase number 7 is about to pop. The play zone is certainly about to change, but Misfits are under fire. Wildcard is applying the pressure, and they're going to be finding a knock. Uneven going to be going down, but also traded back on top of them is going to be Ranger for Wildcard. Drop down to 3v3 as Acer tries to spray through the grass, tries to at least catch a lucky head of one of the members of Wildcard off to the northwest, but not able to do so. Pulling back behind this defilade to try to reset this engagement and possibly look for anyone trying to flank their position. Certainly G6 is lining themselves up to do just that on the western side of this phase.
Wildcard are trying to create a wall of smoke, a wall that blocks the vision between them and Misfits. They can deal with other enemies and come back to them later and get themselves into the circle. G6 now gaining the attention of Misfits Gaming as the fire starts to come their way. You can see Pyro trying to take the shots here. Zeus still trying to line up, spraying through the smoke with that rifle, unable to find the connection. As Pyro taking too much fire now from G6, has to take cover on a sliver of HP. Will come back in. Now he opens it up onto Illusions and finds it across the map. Gets the knock. And Acer finds a knock with a grenade onto G60. Misfits are dueling with 2 teams at the same time and keeping themselves in this game.
And they are taking casualties left and right from their opponents, dropping players down, taking their damage, their HP away very effectively as Percocet continues to spray. Misfits are very aware of their surroundings, showing how strong they are as a squad. But Pyro going to be knocked down. Ranger with the M416 finds the connection, but it's going to be G6 that ends up finding Ranger thereafter. This is a triangle of fights between what was coming into this full 4-man squads. Wildcard has since lost one. It's a 3v4v4. Misfits with 4, G6 with 4. But as you can see, G6 is taking casualties. Misfits are taking casualties. Wildcard has to do something here to take control of the final moments of game number 12, at least for these 2 groups, Group A and D.
G6 tipped the scales in favor, managed to get a kill here. Cobra's going to light up onto Misfits Gaming, and previous engagements between these 2, they've traded a knock each on this one, unable to get the flush, but it's G6 who finds that final bullet to get the first victim of this freeway engagement. It's Wildcards on the back end of this one, trying to stay in it. Ranger's far away from Zeus right now. Grenades are being traded, and it finds a knock onto Acer from Yayo, and that's going to put Misfits on the back foot as Wildcard Gaming going to use this relief to press forward a little bit further, tee up some grenades of their own, throw the arc, yeet it across the map. Just falls short of finding Percocets, but it's roughly on target as the circle going to force these snakes into the center of the pit.
Wildcard's grenades are not landing, but certainly the shots from Ranger are. He's able to find 2 knocks. G6 being whittled away. Misfits going to be capitalizing on this as well. They so desperately want to eliminate that western flank that has proved to be a thorn in their sides. 2 members of G6 going to be hiding behind the crate, but a huge nade actually going to be coming in. That's Misfits. Team damage going to be knocking down one of his teammates rather. Wildcard could swarm on this, and Zeus is going to be doing just that. He's taking damage, though. He's going to be dropped down immediately after he trades out one of the members of G6. It's none other than Percocet of Misfits, but Cobra comes in. Pyro going to be flushed out of the game, and it is spelling disaster for both of these teams on the northern side of things.
They've now leveled the playing field to a 3v3v3. Wildcard have this high ground advantage. They're just raining down bullets onto a Lushy. We'll get the knock behind that crate. There's the Cobra commander looking to rain down fire from above. funny angle, firing at the after image of Misfits. They're not there anymore. Go over a little bit further to the left as they're rotating around. Perks has exposed himself just to the sightlines from Cobra. He finds 2 knocks on that one, putting Misfits on their last life, and his name is Acer. If he can just stay up here, keeping the game. Alushi has been knocked. There's the spray down from Ranger. Cobra will get the flush onto Uneven, and Acer's going to be knocked down, removing Misfits from the game. This is wildcards to take. They just need to deal with G6.
Only 2 enemy opponents stand between Wildcard and being able to tie Misfits' game day record of match wins in total, but they've got to do something big here. Ranger going to be bleeding out. Zeus dropped down to maybe 10 HP, no meds to his name except for bandages, and he's not using them, and that's going to be 1 flush coming out as Ranger goes down, but the return fire comes out, and Cobra going to be spotted out. Yayo trying to spray down one of the lone members of Wildcard off to that southeastern position, but spray coming back and forth between both teams, trying to find the connections, trying to catch out the snakes, and Yayo going to be caught. Wildcard continues to capitalize on this, a 2v1 scenario, but with Zeus so low, will they be able to finish it? And yes, they do. It's going to be a huge round 4 victory coming in for Wildcard, and sure enough, PUBG Mobile fans, they have done it. They have tied Misfits for the game day win record, match-wide.
Able to get in that accolade as well, but that accolade doesn't change the fact that Misfits will still hold that first place position. They already had, like we said, an 82-point lead, I believe, and them getting a third place finish with 7 kills under their belt, it doesn't close the gap that much. It does close it a little bit in favor of Wildcard, but it's still a big gap between them, and after the conclusion of this game day, they're going to have no more games into the group, so their seeding's relatively locked in, or at least that distance between them. It's on teams like Nova tomorrow to dislodge Misfits from that first place position.
If I'm one of the teams, though, that's making it into these semifinal stages, Trid, I'm worried about Wildcard, because that's a hell of a lot of momentum for Wildcard to now take in to these semifinal stages. There's no question. Wildcard, they're top 24. They're going. Misfits, top 24. They're going. They'll see each other again. The semifinals are about to be very lit.
That's the thing about Wildcard. They are exactly that. They didn't have the... Okay, they were finishing top end in their previous 2 game days, but it's really where they've shown. They've shown up today more accurately, and you need to be worried about that team if they can have such an imbalance between average and very above average gameplay on one set day. It's a team you want to avoid here. Same with Misfits, consistently in the top. Yes, they weren't winning the maps today, but they're in top 5, top 7, top 3 in this instance, even taking the map win. With kills as well, more importantly, showing that they can get the placement and the kills. They have one of the most balanced total point scores out of any of our teams competing.
That's one of the dangerous things about Misfits, watching that play. This game in particular, probably the most passive game that we've seen Misfits play up until those end game stages. Rolling into phase number 6, 0 kills for Misfits. That quickly turned. By phase number 7, they had 7 kills, and that quickly escalated from there on out as they combated against all those other teams in that area. Trid, I'm worried for all these other teams that have to combat against some of these teams that have really shined throughout these group stages.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how those groups actually shape up and get reseeded, because we don't know who's going to be partnered with who, because yes, everyone will play each other at least once, but if you're in the same group as a team, then you're stuck with them for the entire duration of the semifinals. You don't want to be stuck with Misfits. You don't want to be stuck with Wildcard. You don't want to be stuck with Nova, for example. You're running out of teams where there's actual general safety inside these groups.
Yeah, there's one word that a few teams will be reciting when they see these semifinal stages, and it's going to be unlucky.
Unlucky. Go next. Well, thankfully there will be a full season at some point, but really they want to keep their eyes on the prize here, because if you can't even make it to semi-finals, then you have no chance of getting to regional finals. And if you don't go to regional finals, guess what you miss out on? You can guess what comes next?
Those 2 slots that go to the global finals, where 10 regions from across the globe will be competing for $2.5 million. Trid, I mean, that's life-changing money, let's be honest.
All right, it's a big prize pool, but let's have a look at the standings, see how they've been concretely shaken up by this one. So Home Alone, we said they haven't done enough. I think at this point we can safely say Home Alone is in the danger zone, as well as Team Totality. They're not going to make it to semifinals. That's not a good enough scoreline. All these teams can start pressing further up the standings. Same place, Shoguns and Team Error might not even be safer as well, based off of what happens tomorrow. So they're in that danger zone now as well. I think NorthAmerica F6 will still remain safe. 115 points is okay. But when you've got like teams like Version 2 White, Cream Esports NA, they're only about 10 to 20 points away from them as well. It's not definite safety, and that's what a lot of teams wanted off the back of today's performance.
Keep in mind, we have seen a team, albeit Misfits, they have earned 140 points in one single day of gameplay. So at the end of the day, anyone can essentially climb their way in to these top 24 positions. Unless you're in Group A and D, certainly you have to be waiting. The Sweaty Sunday, as I'm coining it, you're going to see that on Twitter tomorrow. But as we breach into the top 16 of the leaderboards, we can certainly start to see some of the teams that have really established themselves and at least started to stake their claim, saying we are one of the best teams here in North America, and well, it certainly showed by some of our top 8.
Just look at that. 316 points for Misfits Gaming, 225 from placements alone. That's unbelievable performance for them over the course of their group stage. And Nova Esports, they're going to be able to go ahead and potentially climb that up. We did say Misfits had a 140 day. As long as Nova can come in here and get themselves, I believe, at a 112-point day, they should be able to take that first place spot. Now, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but it is a bit of a tall order.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. Certainly Nova is a team, though, that is standing there ready to fill that order. And I know a lot of fans out there, Nova fans, are expecting big things from them tomorrow. Again, Nova, one of the teams that's likely going to be safe going into the semifinals. But again, if you're a fan of these orgs, you want to see them frag out. You want to see them put everything down and leave nothing on the battlefield.
And it was looking so good for Totality. We've already mentioned this. They set up this trap for AreYouScared. Triggs with the hand of God right now, with the grenade, finding that perfect knock on the cow and sealing the deal here. They were picking up the kills, they just weren't able to do enough in terms of placement, which is weighted more towards kills, and get themselves a solid position. So I am convinced we won't be seeing Totality next week or any more after Sunday's broadcast. That will be locked in. And there were some early kills coming out, I believe, for G6, dealing quite handily with NorthAmerica F6. G6, they found themselves in a really good position here. Second place with about 6 kills off the back of this map. It's not a bad result for a team that often doesn't see the high standings.
And these replays really do not do this final battle justice. If you missed it, if you want to catch the action one more time, maybe even slow it down to 0.25 times so you don't miss a dang thing, well, go over to clubopen.pubgmobile.com, check out the VODs, check out the standings after today, see what your teams did, what they need to do going into tomorrow. But this showdown between 3 of our top teams, I guess, in this lobby, it was epic, Trid. It was exactly the best way to close out the 12 games for Groups A and D.
Let's have a look at how that performance went today as we recap who won it. And like you said, it was the triple for Wildcard Gaming. They managed to get 3 map wins, matching Misfits' record, but Misfits still showed up on the board today. They took away Vikendi themselves after some of the most heads-up 360 play we've seen from a team, dominating Central, taking multiple engagements at the same time, and just exerting so much pressure onto the ever-shrinking circle on Vikendi. That was one of the highlights of the group stage so far, to watch that team put out that performance on the Tundra map.
Yeah, it certainly was. A mastery of all PUBG maps is what you need to be able to definitively say that you are one of the top teams here in North America, and that's what a lot of these teams have been bringing to the table. But let's take a look at the entirety of the weekend. Day 2 is now in the books. We've got one more day for week number 2 of the group stages. Day number 3, we're starting off with Sanhok, Vikendi, Erangel, but this time it's going to be groups B and C playing their final 4 games of the groups.
Spacestation Gaming, Nova Esports, they picked up map wins on day 1. They're both in Group B, and they're going to look to have a great performance tomorrow as they close out their group stage. I guarantee that we'll be seeing those 2 teams in the semifinals. They've done enough work so far in the group stage, but it's all about what seeding can they take away? What message can they send on the end of the day's broadcast when we pull up those standings and confirm who is going home and who is progressing to our next stage?
Exactly, but another fun weekend filled of PUBG, and it's not over yet. Again, Sunday coming in hot. In about 20 hours, Trid, we're going to be right back here displaying all of this mobile action that you can handle. Different groups, though. Again, B and C. We're going to see the likes of Tempo Storm coming back, competing tomorrow. Those final 4 games are going to be so impactful, especially now that the bar has been set. Teams from groups B and C know exactly what they need to do to rank up through those top 24. But Trid, we had a lot of action today. Let's go ahead and maybe check out some of that action here in a few moments, see how the replays went.
Yeah, just recapping the entire day, and this is that push here. It's Unnamed taking the fight against Latinos Undios and just rushing into them off of the blue zone. This is in our first Sanhok map where we expected a lot of aggression to come in, and this is Misfits. This is early on where they crash into a building, and I just want to point this out again. Look at this. Pyra under so much pressure, and immediately Misfits just turn around and go 1-8. Goes, hey, stop that. Stop that right now. Stop shooting our friend. We'll deal with you. And they just return fire straight away onto them, and that's the heads-up play. A similar engagement happens here. Ace Esports able to do the exact same thing, make the 180 onto G60 and punish them for a mistimed engagement.
Exactly. Going for the flush there might have been the detrimental moment, as well as waiting there for G6, but a huge play from Polar Ace nonetheless. This was impactful for them. It gave them the ability to really rank up through game number 3 on Erangel. This is a, this is a map that a lot of people are comfortable on, and by virtue of that, it kind of makes it a more difficult map to play on because everyone knows the different rotations. Sure enough, they know exactly where you're going to be going, the sneaky spots that you can hide behind, as well as gain those third-person perspective advantages.
And this is VN1 going down quite late. Wildcard's second map win of the day as they just rush down a solo member. Ace Esports Dilly, there's nothing he can do against this in a 4v1. Just gets sprayed down from all angles and gets himself that tasty map win. The second out of 3. And it's back onto the highlights we saw from map number 4. So that's the end of play for groups A and D in our group stage. It's now all about B and C tomorrow. What are your expectations going into that, Phil?
Well, expectations, again, like I said, the bar is set. I'm expecting some of these teams at the bottom of the leaderboard to come out swinging if they need to. Some of them, though, they're going to be able to play passively. Go for those placements. Consistency in maybe the top 8 positions might be enough for some of our teams in those bottom 24 through 32nd positions. Might be enough to propel them because, again, there are some teams from these groups today that are pretty low.
Okay, well, that's all for me and Phil for today. We are going to shoot off for now, but like we said, we'll be back in about 20 hours' time. 8 PM PST to be more specific, so I hope you join us to conclude our group stage and find out who we're sending off home and who is going to progress to our semi-finals. You better be there, and I'll be watching.